The year is 117 AD, or perhaps it is 118. Out here on the very edge of the known world, the years tend to blur together, marked not by the names of consuls or the grand decrees of the emperor back in Rome, but by the turning of the seasons. And right now, the season is winter. A winter so deep, so profound, and so relentlessly grey that you have almost forgotten what the Italian sun feels like on the back of your neck. You are sitting on a rough wooden stool, your back hunched slightly against the draft that insists on finding its way through the chinks in the timber walls of the barracks. Outside, the wind is not merely blowing, it is howling. It sounds like a living thing. A great angry beast clawing at the fortifications of the fort, furious that it cannot get in to extinguish the one thing that keeps you sane, the fire. Let's focus on the fire. It is a modest thing contained within the stone hearth in the centre of the room you share with 7 other men, your contubernium, your tent party, your family, for better or for worse, for the 25 years of your service. But right now, the others are not your concern. Most of them are asleep, wrapped tightly in their heavy wool blankets, creating a symphony of snores that rivals the wind outside. There is Gaius, the ox of a man from Gaul, whose snoring sounds like gravel being crushed under a cartwheel. There is young Lucius, barely old enough to shave, who whistles slightly when he breathes. They are just mounds of wool and shadow in the flickering light. You are awake, you have drawn the short straw, or perhaps you simply couldn't sleep and so you have taken up the post of fire watcher. It is a humble duty, but tonight it feels like the most important job in the Empire. If this fire goes out, the cold wins. And up here, near the Great Wall that Hadrian hasn't quite finished dreaming up yet, the cold is an enemy far more patient and lethal than any barbarian with a painted face. In front of you sits the pot. It is a bronze cauldron, dented and blackened by 1,000 fires, hanging from a tripod hook over the dancing flames. Inside is the lifeblood of the Roman Legion. Not wine, not gold, but pulse. Porridge, a thick, bubbling, greyish-brown stew of grain, beans, and whatever else you could scavenge from the stores. You reach out with your wooden spoon, a simple thing you whittled yourself during a long, boring summer watch 3 years ago, and you stir. The movement is rhythmic, circular, hypnotic. The spoon scrapes the bottom of the pot with a dull, reassuring thud. You scrape, you lift, you fold the mixture over. Steam rises from the pot, curling up into the rafters of the barracks, carrying with it a scent that is, frankly, the most beautiful smell in the world right now. It smells of farrow wheat, earthy and wholesome. It smells of dried beans that have been soaking since yesterday morning, slowly surrendering their hardness to the heat. And because the centurion was in a good mood, or perhaps because the supply wagons finally made it through the snow from the south, there is the distinct salty, savoury aroma of cured bacon fat melting into the mix. It isn't a banquet. It isn't the roasted dormice dipped in honey that the patricians are eating in their heated villas on the Palatine Hill tonight. But looking at the thick steam rising in the dim amber light, you feel a profound sense of satisfaction. It is warm, it is yours, and it will fill the belly. You shift your weight on the stool, your joints pop slightly. You're still wearing your tunic, the heavy red wool itchy against your skin, but you've loosened your belt, the balteus. The heavy leather straps with their studded metal aprons usually chime and clink with every step you take, announcing your presence like a walking wind chime of violence. But now the belt lies coiled on the floor next to your feet like a sleeping snake. Your feet. Let's talk about your feet for a moment. They are currently resting near the hearthstones, liberated from the heavy hobnailed caligae boots that you wear every single day. You wiggle your toes in the thick wool seal socks. The socks are a gift from home, or perhaps you bought them from a local trader who swore they were made of sheep's wool from the hills. They are scratchy, smelling faintly of lanolin and wet dog, but the heat from the fire is soaking through them, thawing out the chill that seems to have lived in your bones since November. Swish, thud, swish. You stir the pot again. The grain is breaking down, expanding, turning from hard little kernels into a soft, cohesive mash. This is the chemistry of survival. You watch the bubbles rise to the surface, thick, lazy bubbles that swell slowly and then burst with a soft plop. releasing a fresh wave of savoury steam. It's quiet in the barracks, aside from the snoring and the wind. It's a rare moment of solitude in a life that allows for almost none. A Roman soldier is never alone. You march in formation, you sleep in a pile, you eat shoulder to shoulder. You even use the latrines sitting next to your comrades, discussing the news of the day while staring at the person opposite you. Privacy is a luxury you cannot afford. But tonight, in the small hours while the moon struggles to pierce the snow clouds outside, you have this tiny kingdom of warmth to yourself. You lean forward, resting your elbows on your knees, staring into the embers under the pot. They glow with a deep pulsing orange, shifting to white where the heat is most intense. Occasionally, a piece of wood snaps, crack, sending a tiny shower of sparks floating upward, joining the steam. They look like fireflies, living for just a second before fading into the dark soot of the chimney. You think about the beans in the soup, fava beans mostly, dried until they were hard as pebbles. You remember the sound they made when you poured them from the leather sack into the water yesterday, a sound like rain on a tiled roof. Clatter, clatter, clatter. Now they are soft, yielding, becoming one with the wheat. The guys are going to be happy when they wake up. A good hot breakfast is the only thing that makes the morning drill bearable. The centurion, a man named Crassus who seems to be carved out of old oak and scar tissue, will be barking orders before the sun is even fully up. He loves the cold. He claims it hardens the spirit. You suspect he just has no feeling left in his extremities, but before Crassus and his vinewood staff can ruin your day, there will be this soup. You take the ladle, a deeper wooden spoon, and dip it in to test the consistency. It's getting there. It coats the back of the spoon, heavy and rich. You bring it to your lips, blowing softly. The steam dances away. You take a sip. It's hot, almost too hot. It burns the tip of your tongue pleasantly. The taste is simple. It tastes of earth and salt. The bacon fat has done its job, coating the bland wheat with a slick, savoury richness. It needs a little something, though. You reach for the small pouch at your belt. Salt. Expensive, precious salt. You pinch a tiny amount between your rough thumb and forefinger and sprinkle it into the cauldron. The crystals vanish instantly into the bubbling brown surface. You stir again. Swish, thud. Your mind wanders as you stir. It wanders away from the frozen frontier of Britannia, drifting south, over the Channel, across the endless forests of Gaul, over the Alps, all the way down to Italy. You try to remember the smell of rosemary growing wild on a dry hillside. You try to remember the sound of cicadas buzzing in the heat of a summer afternoon. It feels like a different life lived by a different person. Here the world is monochrome. White snow, black trees, grey sky, brown mud. But the fire provides colour. It paints the room in flickering shades of gold and deep red. It catches the edges of the armour stacked in the corner. The lorica segmentata, those segmented iron plates that protect your shoulders and chest, gleams dully in the firelight. During the day, that armour is a burden. It presses down on your shoulders, chafing your neck, freezing cold in the morning and roasting hot in the summer. But sitting there in the corner, polished and stacked, it looks peaceful, almost like a sculpture. It is waiting for you, just as you are waiting for the soup. You hear a rustle from one of the bunks. It's Marcus. He shifts, muttering something unintelligible in his sleep, probably cursing a mule or dreaming of a girl in a tavern back in Londinium. He rolls over, pulling his blanket tighter around his ears. The wool scratches against the straw of his mattress. Then silence returns, save for the wind. The wind is persistent tonight. You can hear it testing the roof tiles. Rattle, rattle, whoosh. It sounds like it's looking for a way in, looking for a weakness. But the barracks were built by the 2nd Legion, and the 2nd Legion does not build things that fall down. The heavy timber beams above your head, blackened by years of smoke, are solid. They hold the weight of the snow and the force of the gale with a stoic indifference. You are safe here. It is a small, smoky, smelly box on the edge of the world, but it is a fortress against the elements. You pick up a piece of firewood from the pile next to the hearth. It's a chunk of pine sticky with resin. You toss it onto the embers. For a moment, nothing happens. Then the resin catches. It hisses and spits, a sudden flare of bright yellow flame licking up the sides of the blackened pot. The smell of burning pine mixes with the smell of the soup, a sharp, clean scent cutting through the heaviness of the beans and bacon. It reminds you of the forests, the endless, deep, dark forests that surround this place. When you are out on patrol, those forests are terrifying. They are full of shadows that move when you're not looking. But in here, the wood is just fuel. It has been tamed. It serves you. You realise you are thirsty. You reach for your cup. A simple clay vessel, rough to the touch. It contains posca, that universal drink of the army. Water mixed with sour wine and maybe a few herbs if you're lucky. It's an acquired taste, sharp and acidic, but it cuts the dust from your throat and kills the bacteria in the water. You take a long swallow. The vinegar tang makes your mouth water, preparing you for the meal to come. You look back at the pot. The pulse is thickening. It has reached that stage where it gloops rather than splashes. This is the texture of sustenance. This is the fuel that builds roads, digs ditches, and marches 20 miles a day with 60 pounds of gear on its back. You wonder if people in the future will understand this. Will they understand that the Roman Empire wasn't built just on marble columns and philosophical speeches, but on this? On beans and wheat boiled in a pot by a tired man in a drafty hut? Probably not. They will remember the emperors and the generals. They will remember the battles, but they won't remember the soup. But that doesn't matter right now. What matters is that the soup is ready. Or nearly so. It needs to simmer just a little longer to truly marry the flavours. You are the guardian of the simmer. You lean back against the wall, stretching your legs out toward the warmth. The heat tingles on your shins. Your eyes feel heavy. Not the heaviness of exhaustion that makes you collapse, but the pleasant drooping heaviness of comfort. The transition from freezing duty to warm safety. You watch the steam curl. It creates shapes in the air. A ghost, a dancer, a map of the world. Twists and dissolves, constantly changing. It is mesmerising. Outside, a wolf howls. It is a lonely, haunting sound carried miles by the wind. It sounds cold. You feel a momentary shiver, not from the temperature, but from the reminder of the wildness out there. But the walls are thick. The door is barred. The fire is bright. The wolf belongs to the outside. You belong to the inside. You pick up the spoon again. You can't help yourself. Stirring is something to do. It keeps your hands busy, round and round. You scrape the sides where the porridge tries to stick and burn. You have to be careful. Burnt porridge tastes of despair. You are a professional. You will not let it burn. You see a small chunk of bacon fat rise to the surface, glistening. It looks like a jewel, a savoury, calorie-dense jewel. You decide that you will manoeuvre that specific piece into your own bowl when the time comes. Call it the chef's tax, the perk of the night watch. The light in the room is soft. It doesn't reach the corners, leaving them in deep shadow. In the shadows you can see the shapes of the piled equipment. The tall rectangular shields, the scooter, leaning against each other like dominoes. They are painted red and yellow with the lightning bolts of Jupiter. Right now, they look like sleeping guardians. There is a sense of timelessness in the barracks at night. If you didn't know better, you could believe that this night will last forever, that the sun has given up and decided to stay below the horizon. And honestly, looking at the fire and smelling the beans, that wouldn't be so bad. No drill, no digging, no marching, just this, just the warmth and the stir. You close your eyes for a second, listening. The fire pops, pop. A log settles, crunch, Gaia snores. The wind whistles, ooh. It is a lullaby of the Legion. It is the sound of resting strength. You open your eyes, the soup is definitely ready now, but it's too early to wake the others. If you wake them now, they will be grumpy. They will eat, and then they will have to sit around waiting for the trumpet. No, better to let them sleep. Better to let the soup stay hot, thickening just a little more, becoming even more hearty. You decide to bank the fire slightly, covering the brightest flames with a layer of ash to keep the heat steady but gentle. You don't want it to boil over. You use a metal poker to adjust the logs. The heat radiating from the open hearth is intense on your face, flushing your cheeks. It feels like a summer sunburn. A stark contrast to the memory of the sleet that lashed your face during yesterday's patrol. You settle back onto your stool. You wrap your arms around your chest, hugging the warmth to your body. You are a capsule of heat in a frozen world. You are the keeper of the flame. You are the chef of the winter barracks. And as the steam continues to rise, filling the room with the promise of a full belly, you let your mind drift again. Not to the past this time, but to nothing at all. Just the orange glow, just the smell of grain, just the peace of the moment. The snow falls outside, piling up against the walls, insulating you further from the world. Let it fall, let the drifts cover the roads, let the empire wait. You have soup to stir, you sit there for what feels like an hour, though it might only be 10 minutes. Time is fluid when the only clock you have is the rate at which a log turns to white ash. You pick up the ladle again. The soup has changed. It has evolved. The starch from the wheat has fully gelatinized, turning the broth into a creamy, opaque emulsion. It coats the spoon like velvet. You decide it is time for the secret ingredient. Well, it's not exactly a secret. Every soldier in the Legion does it, but it feels like a secret ritual in the quiet of the night. You reach into a small wooden bowl sitting on the floor near the firewood. Garlic. 3 cloves of garlic, their papery skins crinkling as you peel them. The skins are stubborn. They stick to your fingers, static and light. You flick them into the fire where they flare up and vanish in a microsecond. Flash, gone. Now you hold the naked cloves. They are firm, white, pungent. You don't chop them. You don't have a cutting board, and honestly, you don't want to dirty your dagger. Instead, you use the flat of your wooden spoon and crush them against the rim of the pot. Crunch, crunch, crunch. You drop the crushed cloves into the bubbling pulse. Almost instantly, the aroma shifts. The earthy, bland scent of the wheat is suddenly spiked with that sharp, aggressive perfume of garlic. It is the smell of Italy. It is the smell of home kitchens and bustling taverns. It cuts through the smell of damp wool and old wood smoke. It wakes up your nose even if your body is still resting. You stir it in. The garlic needs time to mellow, to lose its raw bite and sweeten in the heat. You are patient. You have nothing but time. Your hand brushes against the rough fabric of your tunic. The wool is coarse, dyed a dull brick red. It's sturdy stuff, meant to survive thorns, mud, and the friction of armour, not to pamper your skin. But after years of wearing it, you've stopped noticing the scratchiness. It's just a second skin now. You pull the fabric away from your chest for a moment, letting the warm air circulate. The heat from the fire is intense on your front, while your back remains cool, kissed by the drafts from the wall. It is a constant reminder of the duality of your existence, facing the warmth, hunted by the cold. You look around the room again. Your eyes adjust further to the dimness. You see the shelf above Lucius's bunk. It holds his personal possessions. A small wooden box, probably containing dice or a few coins, a leather strap, a small crude carving of a horse. We all have these little altars of identity, small things that remind us we are not just serial numbers in the Emperor's ledger. You have yours too. Tucked inside your pack is a small silver ring your father gave you, and a piece of polished amber you traded for in Germania. You don't look at them often, but knowing they are there is enough. The wind outside changes its tone. It drops from a howl to a low, mournful moan. It sounds like it's getting tired. Or perhaps it's just catching its breath before the next assault. You can hear the faint, rhythmic clump, clump, clump of the sentries walking the ramparts outside. Poor bastards. You don't envy them. Walking the wall in this weather is a test of endurance. Their breath will be freezing in their beards, turning into icicles. You, on the other hand, are the king of the barracks. You have the fire, you have the soup. You reach for the bread basket. It's a woven willow basket hanging from a hook on the ceiling to keep it away from the rats. The rats are a constant companion here. They are bold, intelligent, and always hungry. But tonight the basket is safe. You stand up, your knees cracking audibly in the silence, and retrieve a loaf. It's panis militaris, military bread. To call it bread is perhaps generous. It is a dense, round disc, heavy as a stone and nearly as hard. It was baked 2 days ago in the communal ovens. If you threw it at someone, you could probably knock them unconscious, but you're not going to throw it. You're going to resurrect it. You sit back down and break the loaf in half. It takes effort. You have to use both hands and leverage it against your knee. Snap. Breaks with a sound like a dry branch snapping. The crumb inside is tight and dense, smelling faintly of sourdough and wood ash. You take a chunk of the hard bread and drop it into the soup. This is the magic. You watch it float for a moment, like a small boat in a storm of gravy. Then you push it down with the spoon, submerge it, drown it. The hot liquid rushes into the dry pores of the bread. It softens, it swells. It accepts the flavour of the bacon, the garlic, the beans. It transforms from a tooth-breaking rock into a soft, savoury sponge. You fish it out with the spoon. It steams in the cool air. You blow on it. Whoosh. Then you take a bite. It is perfect, mushy on the outside, still retaining a little bit of chew in the centre. The flavour is intense, salty, garlicky, rich. It spreads warmth down your throat, settling in your stomach like a glowing coal. This is why you fight, not for glory, but for this moment where hunger meets satisfaction. You eat the piece of bread slowly, savouring the texture. You tear off another chunk and repeat the process. Break, dunk, wait, eat. It is a ritual. As you eat, you notice the leather of your sandals, your caligae, drying by the fire. You had rubbed them with tallow yesterday to waterproof them. The heat is melting the excess fat, making the leather shine dully. They look like strange skeletal feet with their open latticework of straps. Those boots have walked 1,000 miles. They have walked on Roman roads paved with smooth stones. They have walked through the mud of Gaul. They have crunched over the frozen turf of Britannia. They are moulded to your feet now, shaped by your bunions and your stride. You hope they last the winter. Breaking in a new pair is a nightmare of blisters and pain. You finish your first piece of bread. You feel better. The hollow feeling in your stomach is gone, replaced by a solid heaviness. You lean back again. The fire is burning down a little. The flames are lower, dancing closer to the logs. The bed of coals underneath is a deep throbbing red. It looks like the heartbeat of the earth. You pick up the poker and gently prod the logs. A shower of sparks flies up, swirling in the draught. You watch one specific spark. It rises, drifting towards the chimney, glowing bright yellow, then turns orange, then dull red, and finally winks out into darkness just before it hits the soot-stained bricks. A tiny life born and died in 3 seconds. You decide to clean your gear while the soup finishes its slow simmer. You can't just sit idle forever. A soldier's hands must always be busy. You reach for your pugio, the wide leaf-shaped dagger hanging from your belt. You pull it from its sheath. The metal makes a soft shing sound, barely a whisper. The blade is dull grey steel, pitted slightly near the hilt from age and use. You take a small rag from your pouch, a piece of old tunic soaked in olive oil. You begin to wipe the blade. Long, slow strokes. From the hilt to the point, you're removing invisible moisture, protecting the metal from the rust that loves this damp climate. The oil gleams on the steel. You examine the edge. It's sharp enough to slice bread or cut rope, which is all you really need it for these days. You haven't used it in anger in, how long? 2 years? The tribes up here are quiet lately. Or maybe they're just waiting. You don't dwell on it. You just polish. Rub, rub, rub. The repetition is soothing. It is meditation. You sheath the dagger with a satisfying click. The snoring from the bunks shifts in tone. Someone, maybe Valerius, lets out a long, shuddering sigh in his sleep, then rolls over with a rustle of straw. The straw mattresses are noisy. Every movement sounds like someone walking through dry autumn leaves. You wonder what they are dreaming about. Are they dreaming of Rome? Of the Colosseum? Of wine shops and women? Or are they dreaming of the soup, the spell infiltrating their subconscious? You glance at the window shutter. A small crack in the wood lets in a sliver of the outside world. It is still pitch black. The sun is lazy in the north. It won't show its face for hours yet. You are suspended in the long, dark stretch before the dawn. The ante-Lucan hours, the time when ghosts are said to walk. But you are not afraid of ghosts. You are afraid of the centurion finding a spot of rust on your helmet. Speaking of helmets, you look at yours. It sits on top of your armour stack. It's a purely functional piece of kit. Iron bowl, cheek guards, a neck guard to stop a downward slash. No plumes, no horsehair crests. Those are for parades and officers. Yours is bare metal, scarred and scratched. There is a dent on the left cheek guard where you dropped it on a rock last month. You try to hammer it out, but the metal is stubborn. It gives the helmet character. It looks like a tired face watching you. You turn your attention back to the pot. The bubbles are smaller now, thicker. The soup is letting out a sound like blup, blup, blup. It is a heavy, lazy sound. The liquid has reduced, concentrating the flavours. It is at that perfect stage between soup and pudding. This is how the Legion likes it. A spoon should be able to stand up in its straight. You check the spoon, you stick it in the centre of the pot and let go. It leans slightly, then settles, standing almost upright in the thick mixture. Perfect, a masterpiece of military culinary arts. You feel a wave of drowsiness wash over you. The warmth is soaking into your muscles, relaxing the tension in your neck and shoulders. Your eyelids feel heavy, like they are made of lead. You blink slowly. The fire blurs into a smear of orange light. It would be so easy to close your eyes just for a moment, to let your chin drop to your chest. But you can't. You're on watch, and the soup needs you. You shake your head, clearing the cobwebs. You take a sip of the sour posca to wake yourself up. The vinegar shocks your system. You're awake, you're present. You notice the smell of the wood smoke has changed. It's softer now, less acrid. The logs have turned to charcoal. The heat is steady, radiant, penetrating. It warms your knees through the wool. It warms the palms of your hands as you hold them out toward the hearth. You look at your hands. They are rough, calloused, the knuckles swollen slightly from the cold. There is dirt under your fingernails that no amount of scrubbing seems to remove. These are the hands that built the fort. These are the hands that hold the shield. These are the hands that stir the soup. You wonder if your mother would recognize these hands. She probably would. She had hands like these. Strong, capable hands that could wring the neck of a chicken or swaddle a baby with equal skill. You miss her. The thought is fleeting. A small pang of nostalgia that you quickly push away. Soldiers don't dwell on what they left behind. Soldiers dwell on what is in front of them. And in front of you is a pot of beans. You stir the pot one more time just to be sure nothing is sticking to the bottom. The spoon moves with resistance now. The resistance of substance. Out to side, the wind seems to have died down completely. The silence is sudden and heavy. It presses against the walls. In the absence of the wind, you can hear other things. The shifting of a horse in the stables nearby. The distant crunch of a boot on snow. The world is holding its breath. You know that soon the camp will begin to stir. The cooks in the main mess tent will be lighting their great ovens. The officers' servants will be waking up to heat water for shaving. The orderly rhythm of the Roman military machine will begin to grind into motion. But not yet. For now, it is still just you and the fire. You decide to add a pinch more salt, just a pinch. You sprinkle it in, watching the white grains vanish. You are a perfectionist. You lean forward, resting your chin on your hand, staring into the deep red caverns of the embers. You can see faces in the fire. You can see landscapes, burning mountains, rivers of lava. It is a primitive television, broadcasting the same channel for 1,000,000 years. The warmth is a physical weight. It wraps around you like a heavy blanket. You feel safe. You feel fed, or at least the anticipation of being fed. You feel content. In this small wooden room, surrounded by sleeping men and the smell of cooking beans, you find a strange kind of peace. The Empire is vast, violent, and complicated. But this is simple. Fire, food, warmth. You take a deep breath, inhaling the savoury steam, filling your lungs with the essence of survival. You are ready for the morning, but for now you will just sit and watch and wait. The shift in the room is subtle at first. It isn't a sound, but a change in the quality of the shadows. The deep velvety black that has filled the corners of the barracks for hours begins to dilute. It turns into a heavy charcoal grey. The light seeping through the cracks in the wooden shutters is no longer the absent void of night. It is the bruised blue of the pre-dawn. The Romans call this the duluculum, the little light, the time when the world is suspended between the dreams of the night and the harsh duties of the day. You are still sitting by the fire, though the flames have settled down into a bed of glowing coals that pulse with a steady, rhythmic heat. The soup is quiet now. It has stopped its energetic bubbling and is merely shuddering occasionally. A thick, hot mass of potential energy waiting to be unleashed. Then it happens. The sound you have been expecting, dreading and waiting for. From somewhere out in the centre of the fort near the Principia, the headquarters building, a trumpet sounds. It is the bucina. It is not a cheerful instrument. It is a curved brass horn that produces a low, mournful tone, like a cow complaining in a cavern. The sound vibrates through the timber walls, shaking the dust from the rafters. It is the sound of authority. It is the sound that says the Empire is awake, and therefore you must be too. The reaction in the room is immediate and filled with the universal language of tired men. To your left, the mound of blankets that is Gaius shifts tectonically. A large, hairy arm emerges from the wool, groping blindly in the cold air before finding the edge of the bunk. Gaius emits a noise that is half groan, half growl. "Jupiter's stones," he mutters, his voice thick with sleep. "Is it morning already?" I just closed my eyes. You know for a fact that Gaius has been asleep for 8 solid hours, but you say nothing. You just smile into the fire. Above him, on the top bunk, Lucius stirs. He sits up too quickly, hitting his head on the low beam of the ceiling with a dull thump. He whispers. He rubs his head, blinking rapidly, looking around the room with the confused expression of a newborn calf. He looks at you sitting by the fire, and then he smells the air. His eyes widen. Is that bacon?" he asks, his voice cracking slightly. "It is," you say quietly. Your voice sounds rough to your own ears, unused after hours of silence. And beans and garlic. Suddenly, the room is alive. The other 4 men in the contubernium are waking up. The air, previously filled only with the scent of wood smoke and soup, now fills with the sounds of rustling straw, cracking joints, and the heavy exhales of men resigning themselves to another day of service. It is a symphony of morning grumpiness, but the mood shifts as soon as their feet hit the floor. The floor is cold, packed earth covered in rushes that have frozen during the night. But the smell of the pot draws them in like moths to a lantern. They gather around the hearth, wrapping their blankets around their shoulders like togas, shivering slightly in the draught. They look like a council of dishevelled druids, hair sticking up in wild tufts, eyes bleary, stubble darkening their chins. But they are your brothers. You know that Felix, the skinny one on the right, talks in his sleep about his mother's farm. You know that Marcus, the one scratching his chest, is terrified of spiders that will charge a barbarian shield wall without blinking. "You're a good man," Marcus grunts, eyeing the pot. He claps a heavy hand on your shoulder. "A good man. I was dreaming of freezing to death in a bog and I wake up to this." You stand up, your knees popping in protest. You pick up the stack of wooden bowls from the shelf. They are simple, lathe-turned beechwood, stained dark by years of oil and stew. You hand them out. One by one, the men hold them out to you with the solemnity of a religious ceremony. You take the ladle. This is your moment. You stir the pot one last time, bringing the heavy ingredients up from the bottom. The soup is incredibly thick now. It is a porridge in the truest sense. You scoop up a ladleful. It pours slowly, a ribbon of steaming brown gold. Slope. You fill Gaius's bowl first. He nods his thanks, his eyes already fixed on the food. Then Lucius. Then the others. Finally, you fill your own bowl. You make sure to scoop up that piece of glistening bacon fat you had your eye on earlier. It slides into your bowl with a wet plop. Justice is served. There is no table. The contubernium is too small for luxuries like tables. You all sit wherever you can find space. On the stools, on the edge of the bunks, or simply squatting on the floor near the fire. For the next 10 minutes there is no talking. The only sounds are the scraping of wooden spoons against wooden bowls and the sounds of eating. Slurp, swallow, sigh. You take your first proper bite. The spoon feels warm in your hand. The soup is hot, dangerously hot, but you don't care. You blow on it briefly and put it in your mouth. It is glorious. The beans have dissolved into a creamy paste that coats your tongue. The wheat provides a chewy, nutty texture that gives you something to bite into. But it's the flavour that hits you. The saltiness of the bacon has permeated everything. The garlic, which was so sharp when you crushed it, has mellowed into a sweet, savoury background note that lifts the whole dish. And the bread, The bread you soaked earlier has become a soft flavour bomb that melts in your mouth. It warms you from the inside out. You can feel the heat travelling down your gullet, landing in your stomach, and radiating outward to your frozen fingers and toes. It is more than food. It is fuel. It is morale. It is the difference between a miserable morning and a bearable one. You look around at your comrades. Gaius is scraping the bottom of his bowl with aggressive precision, trying to get every last molecule of grain. Lucius is eating slowly, eyes closed, a look of pure bliss on his young face. This is the bond of the mess. You cook for them, they watch your back. Tomorrow it will be Felix's turn to cook, and he will probably burn it, but today you are the hero. Good pulse, someone mutters, is the highest compliment you can expect. You finish your bowl, you feel heavy, grounded. The energy is returning to your limbs. You use a piece of dry bread to wipe the bowl clean, eating the bread afterward. No waste, not up here. Now begins the transition. The meal is over. The day has begun. The light outside these shutters has shifted to a lighter grey. The blue hour is fading. You stand up and stretch, your hands touching the rough timber beams of the ceiling. It's time to shed the comfort of the night and put on the shell of the soldier. You walk to your corner. You strip off your tunic, briefly exposing your skin to the biting air, and quickly pull on a fresh one. Well, fresh is relative. It's the one you wore 2 days ago, but it's dry. You pull on your subligaculum loincloth and retie the knot. Then comes the scarf. A thick woolen scarf that you wrap around your neck to prevent the armour from chafing. It is itchy, but it stops the metal from biting into your skin. Next, the caligae. You sit on your bunk to lace them up. This is a tedious process. The long leather laces have to be wound around your ankles and up your shins in a specific pattern. If you do it too tight, your feet will go numb. Too loose and you'll get blisters. You pull the leather tight, yank, loop, tie. The leather is stiff from the cold, but your body heat is starting to soften it. You stamp your feet on the floor, stomp, stomp. The hobnails on the soles bite into the earth floor. You're grounded. Then, the armour. The lorica segmentata. You lift it up. It is heavy, 30 pounds of iron and leather. You swing it over your head. It lands on your shoulders with a familiar clank rattle. It constricts your chest slightly. You feel immediately bigger, harder, less human. You tighten the leather straps at the front and back, securing the plates. The metal is cold against your tunic, sucking the heat from your body for a moment before it warms up. You fasten your belt, the cingulum. The apron of studded leather straps hangs down over your groin. It jingles when you move. Ching, ching. It is the music of your trade. You slide your pugio onto the belt. You pick up your gladius, the short stabbing sword, and sling it over your shoulder on its baldric. The weight is comforting. It balances you. Around you, the others are doing the same. The room is filled with the sounds of buckles clicking, leather creaking, and metal clashing. The drowsy atmosphere of the soup kitchen is gone, replaced by the efficient industrial noise of a locker room. Drill today? Lucius asks, struggling with a knot in his sandal lace. It's Tuesday, Gaius rumbles, adjusting his shoulder plates. So weapons training, probably with the heavy wicker shields. Crassus is in a mood. Crassus is always in a mood, you reply, picking up your helmet. You hold the helmet in your hands for a moment. The cheek guards dangle loosely. You place it on your head. The world narrows. Your peripheral vision is cut off. Your hearing is muffled. You are now looking at the world through the frame of war. You buckle the chin strap. The metal is cold against your jaw. You are ready. You pick up your shield, the scutum from the stack. You slide your left hand through the grip. It is heavy, pulling your shoulder down, but your muscles are used to it. You are a turtle now, encased in your shell. Right, says Gaius, who is usually the unofficial leader of the tent party once awake. Let's get it over with. He walks to the door. This is the moment of truth. The barrier between the warm, soup-scented cocoon and the reality of Britannia. He lifts the heavy wooden latch. Clack. He pulls the door open. The light hits you first. It is a stark, flat white light reflecting off the snow. It makes you squint. Then the air hits you. It rushes in like a physical blow, freezing, crisp and clean. It smells of snow, pine resin and latrines. It instantly chases away the lingering warmth of the fire. You step out. The snow crunching under your hobnails is loud. Crunch, Crunch. The ground is hard, packed ice covered in a fresh layer of powder. The breath plumes from your mouth in thick white clouds, mingling with the breath of your comrades. The camp is awake. Everywhere you look, men are emerging from their barracks huts, looking like armoured beetles crawling out of a log. The smoke from hundreds of breakfast fires rises straight up into the still air, creating a grey haze over the fort. The sound of voices, shouting orders, laughing, coughing fills the air. "Move it, you slackers!" a voice bellows. It's the Optio walking down the muddy street, checking the roster. He looks surprisingly awake, his crest bristling. You fall into line. It is instinct. You don't even think about it. You stand shoulder to shoulder with Gaius and Lucius, the shield wall, the unit. You look up at the sky. It is a pale, washed-out blue, vast and indifferent. To the north, over the wooden palisade of the fort, you can see the tops of the trees, the great forest. It is silent and dark, a wall of green and black against the snow. That is where the enemy is. Or maybe they're just farmers trying to survive the winter, just like you. But you don't feel fear. You feel the soup in your belly. That dense, warm ball of pulse is powering you. It is keeping the cold at bay. You wiggle your toes in your boots. They are still warm. "Forward! March!" the Optio screams. You step off with the left foot. Crunch. The sound of 8 men stepping in unison. Crunch, crunch, crunch. The rhythm takes over. Your mind empties. You are no longer the cook, you are the legion. But as you march toward the parade ground, your hand brushes the pouch at your belt. You can feel the small hard lump of the leftover garlic bulb, and you smile just a little behind your cheek guards. Tonight, you think? Tonight I might try adding some dried rosemary. I saw a bush near the legate's tent. Maybe I can snag a sprig. The thought of tonight's dinner carries you through the morning roll call. The promise of the fire, the promise of the spoon. The wind picks up again, swirling the snow around your ankles, but you march on, fueled by beans and brotherhood. The parade ground, the campus, is a vast flat expanse of beaten earth located just inside the eastern gate of the fort. In summer, this ground is a dust bowl, kicking up clouds of yellow grit that coat the back of your throat and turn your sweat into mud. But now, in the depths of winter, it is a hard, unforgiving slab of frozen mud and ice, dusted with the fresh snow that fell during your watch. It looks like the surface of a dead moon. You march onto it in formation. The sound is deafening, yet strangely dull. Thud, thud, thud. Hundreds of hobnailed boots striking the frozen earth in unison. It is a sound that vibrates up through the soles of your feet, rattling your shins. The vibration travels up your legs, through your spine and settles in the base of your skull. It is the heartbeat of the Legion, a rhythm so ingrained in your body that you probably march in your sleep. The cohort spreads out. "Open! Order!" the centurion barks. You take 2 steps to the side, extending your arms. You are now an island of iron and wool, separated from Gaius on your left and Lucius on your right by exactly 6 feet of freezing air. This is your workspace. This is your office. In front of you stands the enemy. The enemy is a wooden post. It is a thick trunk of oak sunk deep into the ground, standing about 6 feet high. It is scarred, splintered, and hacked to pieces. It has been stabbed, slashed, and battered by thousands of soldiers before you. It is the most resilient enemy the Empire has ever faced. It never retreats. It never surrenders. It just stands there, stoically accepting the abuse. You draw your gladius. The sword slides out of the scabbard with a hiss. It is a short blade, barely 2 feet long, with a sharp point and parallel edges. It is not a hero's weapon. It is not the long, sweeping sword of a barbarian king. It is a tool, a mechanic's wrench for the grim business of war. It is balanced, heavy in the hilt, designed for one thing, the thrust. "Ready!" Crassus yells. He is walking up and down the lines, his vinewood staff tucked under his arm. He looks bored. He has seen men stab posts for 30 years. He will likely watch men stab posts until the day he dies. You adopt the stance, left leg forward, knee bent, right leg back, braced. You crouch slightly behind your shield. The scutum covers you from chin to shin. It is curved, wrapping around your body like a protective hug. You peer over the rim, your eyes locked on the splintered face of the wooden post. Strike! You lunge, you don't swing the sword, you punch with it. Your arm shoots forward, driving the point of the blade into the wood. Whack! It sinks in 1/4 of an inch. Recover! You yank the blade back and snap the shield back into position, covering your face. Strike! Thwack! Recover! Snap! Strike! Thwack! This is the drill. The ad palem training. It is the foundation of everything. You do this until your arm feels like it's going to fall off. You do this until the motion is no longer a conscious decision but a reflex. If a barbarian jumps out of a bush, you won't think. You will just thrust. As you settle into the rhythm, your mind begins to detach from the physical exertion. The repetition is hypnotic. It becomes a meditation. Thrust, back, shield, thrust, back, shield. It is a dance with a partner who has 2 left feet and no sense of humour. You focus on the sensory details of the moment to distract yourself from the burning in your right shoulder. You focus on the smell. The cold air is crisp, but as the cohort warms up, a new smell rises. The smell of heating wool, the smell of leather warming up against skin, the faint metallic tang of the armour. It is the scent of a wet dog drying by a fire, but multiplied by 400 men. You watch your breath. Every time you exhale on the thrust, ha! A cloud of steam shoots out from under the rim of your helmet. It swirls for a moment in front of your eyes, obscuring the post before vanishing. You are a dragon. A very cold, very tired dragon. The sweat begins to start. This is the worst part of winter training. You are freezing on the outside, but inside the cocoon of your armour and tunic you are roasting. A bead of sweat forms on your forehead, right under the rim of the helmet's padding. You feel it slide down. It tickles. It rolls down your temple, over your cheekbone, and gets caught in your stubble. You can't wipe it away. You can't drop your shield to scratch your nose. You just have to let it happen. It is a tiny personal torture. "Higher!" Crassus yells, his voice cutting through the thumping. He's standing right behind you. You can feel his presence. "That post is 6 feet tall, soldier. Are you fighting a dwarf? Aim for the face, put it in his eye." You adjust your aim. You thrust higher. The tip of the sword digs into a knot near the top of the post. "Better," Crassus grunts and moves on to terrorize Lucius. You hear Lucius grunting with effort next to you. Ooh, thwack. He's trying too hard. You can hear it in his breathing. He's putting too much shoulder into it. He'll be exhausted in 10 minutes. You're pacing yourself. You are an old hand. You use your hips, your weight. You let gravity and momentum do the work. Conservation of energy. That's the secret. The post isn't going anywhere. The sun finally breaks over the eastern wall. It is a weak, pale yellow disk, providing no warmth whatsoever, but it lights up the world. The snow on the roofs of the barracks sparkles with a blinding intensity. The frost on the parade ground glitters like crushed diamonds. For a second, just a second, the fort looks beautiful. It looks like a crystal palace. Then a cloud covers the sun again, and the world returns to grey. "Halt!" The command echoes. You freeze. "Rest!" You lower your sword. You drop the rim of the shield to the ground. Clunk. You lean on it. The shield is heavy, 20 pounds of plywood, leather and iron binding. But when you rest it on the ground, it becomes a leaning post, a piece of furniture. You take a deep breath, inhaling the freezing air. It cools your lungs. You look at the post in front of you. It has a fresh wound, a light gash where your last strike landed. It looks like a mouth, silently judging you. Gaius leans over from his spot. He is red-faced, steam rising from his shoulders like a mist. "My arm," he complains, rolling his shoulder. "I think the cold makes the joint stiff. I feel like an old door hinge." "You're just getting old, Gaius," you say, keeping your voice low. Too much cheese, not enough stretching. "It's the damp," he insists. "This cursed island is wet. Even the rocks are wet. My bones are turning to moss." You smile. This is the banter of the break. It is essential. It reminds you that you're human beings, not just stabbing machines. You look across the parade ground. Another sentry is practicing with the pilum, the heavy javelin. You watch them. They run forward 3 steps, 1, 2, 3, and launch the spears. The javelins fly through the air in a ragged arc. They are heavy, headed with a long iron shank. When they hit the target butts, bales of hay, they don't just stick, they punch through, thump, thump, thump. It's a satisfying sound. There is a brutal elegance to Roman engineering. The pilum is designed to bend on impact so the enemy can't throw it back. It is a single-use weapon, expensive, wasteful, and incredibly effective, just like the Empire itself sometimes. You notice a bird landing on the top of the palisade wall. A crow. It is jet black, a silhouette against the grey sky. It hops along the timber spikes, looking down at the hundreds of men sweating and stabbing at wooden posts. It caws once, a rough, mocking sound. It probably thinks you're all insane. Why work this hard when you could just fly? It spreads its wings and takes off, catching the wind, soaring over the wall and toward the forest. You feel a pang of jealousy. Total freedom. No armour, no centurion, no beans. Well, maybe beans if it steals them. Shields up! The break is over, short and sweet. You hoist the scutum back up. The weight returns to your left arm. The muscles complain for a second, then remember their job. Formation drill, testudo, Crassus bellows. The tortoise, this is better. This requires less stabbing and more coordination. You move together. The open order collapses. You step in tight, shoulder to shoulder. The men in the front row hold their shields in front of them, creating a wall. You're in the second row. You lift your shield over your head. This is tricky. You have to lock the rim of your shield over the rim of the shield in front of you, and under the rim of the shield behind you. It's a jigsaw puzzle made of heavy wood. Clack, clatter, thud. The roof forms over your head. Suddenly the world goes dark. You are inside the shell. The light is blocked out. The wind is blocked out. All you can see is the back of Gaius's helmet in front of you and the iron bracing of your own shield above you. It becomes quiet inside the testudo. The sound of the wind is muffled. The air instantly gets warmer, trapped by the bodies and the roof of shields. It smells intensely of sweat and leather now. It feels like being in a scrum or a very crowded tavern. Forward, march! You move as one beast. You have to match your step exactly to Gaius. If you step on his heel, he will trip, the roof will collapse, and Crassus will have an aneurysm. Left, right, left, right. It's awkward, you are shuffling, but you feel safe. In here, arrows can't touch you. Stones can't touch you. You are part of a tank made of men. You look down at the ground as you march. You watch the heels of the boots in front of you rising and falling. The hobnails are shiny from the wear. You see a splash of mud on Gaius's calf. You see the hem of his tunic fraying slightly. These tiny details occupy your world. When your horizon is limited to 6 inches, you become an expert in the microscopic. Halt! The tortoise stops. Dissolve. You lower the shields, the light comes rushing back in. The cold air hits your sweaty face, you blink. You are individuals again. The drill continues. Hour after hour, you cycle through the weapons. You practice drawing the sword, you practice the shield bash. You practice turning right, turning left, turning about. It is a choreography of violence, practiced until it is as natural as walking. Your body aches, but it is a good ache. It is the ache of use. The soup you ate this morning has been burned off, converted into kinetic energy. You start to feel the hollowness in your stomach again. The hunger is a clock. It tells you it must be nearing midday. Prandium, lunch. Lunch won't be much. Cold meat, maybe some cheese, more bread. But you will get to sit down. You will get to take the helmet off. You look at your hands gripping the rim of the shield. The leather is stained dark where your sweat has soaked into it. Your knuckles are red. There is a blister forming on the thumb. You press it against the wood. The pain is sharp, grounding. It reminds you that you are here, alive, in 117 AD, serving the Emperor Hadrian. The wind picks up again, blowing snow across the parade ground. It swirls around your boots. The training ground is a blur of motion. Red tunics, brown leather, grey steel, white snow. It is a painting in motion, and amidst it all you find a rhythm. A strange tranquility. There are no decisions to be made here. You don't have to worry about the future. You don't have to worry about money or politics. You just have to listen to the voice. Shields up! Strike! Recover! It is simple. It is orderly. In a chaotic world, the drill is a constant. Crassus stops in front of the formation. He looks at you all. He leans on his staff. For a moment, he doesn't say anything. He just watches the steam rising from the ranks. Not terrible, he lies. Not completely terrible. The second cohort looked like a herd of drunken sheep yesterday. You lot look like sober sheep. That is an improvement. It passes for a compliment. A ripple of amusement goes through the ranks. A few chuckles. Dismissed for prandium! The magic words. The tension leaves your body instantly. You sheathe your sword. Click. You sling the shield onto your back by its strap. It hangs there, heavy but manageable. You turn to Gaius. Sober sheep. Gaius grins, wiping sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand. I'll take it. Better than drunken sheep, you agree. You begin the walk back to the barracks. The walk is slower now. You're cooling down. The adrenaline is fading, leaving behind the pleasant fatigue of hard work. You're looking forward to sitting on that stool again. You're looking forward to taking off your boots for 10 minutes. As you walk, you pass the blacksmith's workshop. You hear the ringing of a hammer on an anvil. Ting, ting, ting. A different rhythm, but part of the same song. You smell the coal smoke from his forge. It smells sharper, more metallic than the wood smoke of the barracks. You see the blacksmith, a burly man with soot-stained arms, plunging a red-hot horseshoe into a bucket of water. A great cloud of steam erupts, hissing violently. Hish! It obscures him for a moment. It reminds you of the steam from your soup pot. Everything connects. Fire, water, steam, iron. It is the alchemy of the camp. You reach the barracks door. It looks welcoming. The wood is weathered and grey, but it is the door to your home. You lift the latch. You step inside. The air is still warm from the morning fire. It smells faintly of the bacon you cooked hours ago. It smells of safety. You walk to your bunk and sit down. You let the shield slide off your back and lean it against the wall. You exhale a long, shuddering breath. You're tired. You're cold. You're hungry. But you are done with the morning. The afternoon awaits. And after that, the evening fire. And maybe, just maybe, another bowl of soup. The afternoon light is different. It lacks the stark, harsh ambition of the morning sun. It is a lazy, slanting light, filtering through the high windows of the bathhouse in dusty shafts that turn the steam into columns of gold. You are no longer in the barracks. The drill is done. The lunch, a wedge of hard cheese and an apple that had seen better days, is eaten. Now you are in the thermae, the bathhouse. For a Roman soldier on the frontier, the bathhouse is not just a place to get clean. It is a temple of civilization. It is a miracle of engineering that defies the savage weather outside. Outside the world is frozen mud and biting wind. Inside it is a tropical grotto of heated floors and humid air. You are sitting in the tepidarium, the warm room. It is the transition zone, the place where the body prepares itself for the heat to come. You are sitting on a marble bench. It is smooth, polished by thousands of sitting soldiers, and miraculously, it is warm. The heat comes from beneath, from the hypercore system under the floor. You can imagine the slaves stoking the furnaces deep underground, channeling hot air through the hollow bricks in the walls and floor. It is invisible fire. It is magic that you can feel against the soles of your feet. The room echoes. That's the sound of the baths. Drip, splash, echo. Voices bounce off the vaulted ceiling, stripping away rank and urgency, leaving only a murmur of contented conversation. You look at your skin. It is pale, slightly pink from the warmth. You have scraped off the mud of the parade ground. You have shed the heavy wool and the clanking iron. Here you are just flesh and bone. You feel light. Without the 30 pounds of armour, you feel as if you could float. Next to you, Gaius is scraping his arm with a strigil. It is a curved bronze tool shaped like a sickle but dull. He has oiled his skin with olive oil from a small flask. The oil glistens on his hairy forearm. He presses the bronze edge against his skin and scrapes. Scritch, scrape. A slurry of oil, sweat and dead skin comes off, leaving a clean pink track behind. Civilization, Gaius murmurs. Looking at the gunk on the strigil, the barbarians don't do this. They think dirt keeps you warm. Dirt does keep you warm, Lucius pipes up from the other side, like insulation. A layer of mud is like a second tunic. Disgusting, Gaius grunts. He flicks the strigil, sending the oil into the drainage channel that runs along the floor. A Roman is clean, that is why we win, we are aerodynamic. You smile. You reach for your own oil flask. It is a small ceramic jar stoppered with a piece of cork. You pour a little into your palm. It is golden green, smelling of olives and a hint of lavender. You rub it onto your shoulder, where the armour strap has been digging in all morning. The sensation is exquisite. The oil reduces the friction. Your fingers work into the muscle, finding the knot of tension that lives there. You massage it, rub, press, release. The heat of the room softens the oil, making it spread easily. You can feel the tension melting away, dripping off you like the condensation on the walls. You stand up. It is time for the caldarium, the hot room. You walk through the archway. The air here is thick. It hits you in the face like a warm, wet towel. It is steamy, misty. You can barely see the other side of the room. The floor is hot. Hot enough that you have to wear your wooden sandals, your souliers, to keep your feet from burning. In the centre is the pool, the hot plunge. You step in. The water is scalding. At first, it feels like a shock, almost painful. You hiss through your teeth. But as you lower your body in, the sensation changes. It becomes a deep, penetrating embrace. The heat seeps into your bones, chasing away the last lingering chill of the northern winter. You submerge up to your chin, the water buoys you up, you float. You close your eyes. The sound of the water is louder here. Slosh, ripple, someone dives in at the far end, splash. The sound is muffled by the steam. You think about the water. It comes from the aqueduct, flowing miles from the hills, channeled through lead pipes, heated by fire, delivered to this pool just for you. It is a triumph of logistics. To sit in hot water while snow falls on the roof is the ultimate statement of power. You let your head tip back against the marble rim of the pool. You listen to the conversation floating in the mist. Heard the 9th is moving north. New shipment of wine from Gaul. My boots are falling apart. It is the same talk as always. But here, stripped of uniforms, stripped of weapons, it sounds softer. It sounds like men, not soldiers. After a long soak, when your fingers are prunes and your face is flushed red, you climb out. You feel heavy now, lethargic. Your muscles are jelly. You move to the frigidarium, the cold room. This is the part you hate, but also the part you need. It is the shock that closes the pores and wakes you up. The room is unheated. The pool is cold water, straight from the aqueduct. You stand at the edge. You take a deep breath. You count to 3. 1, 2, 3. You jump. The cold is a hammer. It knocks the breath out of you. Gasp. Your heart stammers. Your skin tightens instantly. You scramble out of the water, shivering uncontrollably. Good for the soul, Gaius yells, splashing water over his head. He is insane. You wrap yourself quickly in your towel, a rough linen cloth. You rub your skin vigorously. Rub, rub, rub. The friction generates heat. Your skin tingles. You feel alive. You feel incredibly awake. The lethargy of the hot bath is gone, replaced by a buzzing energy. You walk back into the changing room, the appetiterium. You dress slowly. Your tunic feels fresh against your clean skin. You put on your belt, but leave the armour off. The afternoon is for maintenance, not marching. You leave the bathhouse. The cold air outside feels different now. Before it was an enemy. Now, with your body heated from the core, it feels refreshing. It cools your flushed face. You head back towards the barracks, but you stop at the fabricant's workshop. You have a job to do. Your shield cover, the leather case that protects the scutum from the rain, has a tear in it. You find a spot on a bench outside the workshop, under the shelter of the eaves. The light is good here. You pull out the leather cover. It is goatskin, oiled and supple, but snagged on a thorn bush during the last patrol. A jagged tear about 2 inches long. You take out your sewing kit, a bone needle, a spool of waxed linen thread, an awl. This is soldier's work too, sewing, mending. A soldier who cannot sew is a soldier who freezes or rusts. You thread the needle. You have to squint a little. You lick the end of the thread to make it stiff. It goes through the eye. Success. You use the awl to punch small holes on either side of the tear. Punch, twist, punch, twist. The leather is tough, it resists. Then you begin to stitch. Over and under, over and under. It is a simple whip stitch. You pull the thread tight after each loop. Zip! The sound of the wax thread pulling through the leather is satisfying. It is a sound of repair, a sound of fixing things. You focus entirely on the tear. The world shrinks down to the point of your needle. You're a surgeon of leather. As you work, you watch the camp life go by. A mule cart trundles past carrying firewood. The wheels creak in the mud. Creak. Squelch. The driver, a civilian contractor, whistles a tune. Two soldiers walk by, arguing about a dice game. You cheated! I saw the dice turn! It was the floor! The floor is uneven! You smile without looking up. The eternal arguments. You finish the stitch. You tie a knot, pulling it tight with your teeth. You bite off the excess thread. Snap. You inspect your work. It is neat. The tear is closed. The scar is visible, a line of white thread against the brown leather, but it is strong. It will hold. The shield will stay dry. You pack away your kit. You feel a sense of accomplishment. It is a small victory, fixing a tear, but it is yours. The afternoon is wearing on. The sun is dipping low, threatening to vanish behind the western wall. The shadows are stretching out long and thin, distorting the shapes of the buildings. You feel the hunger returning. The soup from the morning is a distant memory. But tonight is special. Tonight, you are not cooking. Tonight is a dry ration night in the barracks. But you have a plan. You have a few coins in your pouch. You decide to visit the Canabai, the civilian settlement that clings to the walls of the fort like barnacles on a ship. It is a place of taverns, traders, and life. You walk out the gate. Guards nod at you. You're off duty. The Canabai is noisy. It smells of roasting meat, unwashed bodies, and cheap wine. It is chaotic compared to the grid-like order of the fort. The huts are jumbled together. Children run through the muddy alleys, chasing a stray dog. A woman is selling fried dough from a stall. You head for a small tavern, you know. The Sitting Goose. A ridiculous name, but the wine is passable and they serve hot sausages. You push aside the leather curtain and duck inside. It is dark, smoky and warm. The air is thick with the smell of roasting pork and herbs. It's crowded. Soldiers and civilians mix together. You find a corner table. You order a cup of wine and a sausage. The wine arrives in a chipped ceramic cup. It is dark red, almost purple. You take a sip. It is rough, tannic, leaving a dree sensation on your tongue. But it warms you. The sausage arrives on a wooden board. It is sizzling. It bursts with juice when you bite into it. Fennel, pepper, pork. It is rich and greasy. You wipe the grease from your chin. You sit there, chewing, watching the room. In the corner a man is playing a flute, a sad, wandering melody that weaves through the noise of the chatter. It sounds like a song from far away, from home. You feel a wave of melancholy. It is the evening blues, the moment when the busyness of the day fades and you are left with your thoughts. You think about the years ahead. 25 years of service, you have done 18 to go, ideally. It seems like an eternity, but then you look at your hands, they are strong. You look at your mended shield cover next to you. You are capable. You have the soup, you have the bath, you have the wine. You can do this. You finish your wine, you leave a coin on the table, you step back out into the twilight. The sun is gone. The sky is a deep indigo. The first stars are appearing. The Great Bear hangs over the northern forest. You walk back to the gate. The sentries are changing guard. You hear the exchange of passwords.
Jupiter! Victory!
You walk back to the barracks. The camp is settling down. The fires are being stoked for the night. The smoke hangs low, a blanket over the fort. You enter your room. The others are there. Gaius is polishing his helmet. Lucius is reading a letter from home, moving his lips as he reads. You missed roll call for dinner, Gaius says, but he doesn't mean it. We saved you some bread. I ate, you say, sausage. Traitor, Gaius grins. You sit on your stool, the same stool as this morning. The fire is burning low. You're back where you started. But you are clean, your gear is mended, your belly is full. You watch the fire, the cycle is complete, the day is done. And tomorrow you will wake up, stir the pot and do it all again. The next morning begins not with the smell of soup, but with the smell of wet leather and cold iron. The order came down late last night, whispered from the centurion's quarters to the optio, and then to you. Patrol. Patrol. The word hangs in the air of the barracks like a bad smell. It means leaving the geometric safety of the fort. It means leaving the fires and the walls and the soup. It means walking into the great green void that surrounds you. You are awake before the trumpet this time, Anticipation, or perhaps a mild professional anxiety, has a way of overriding sleep. You're packing your kit. It is a precise science. On patrol, you carry everything you need to survive for 3 days, even if the patrol is only scheduled for 1. You pack the hardtack bread, the dried meat, the small flask of oil, the spare socks. You roll your heavy wool cloak, the sagum, and strap it to the top of your pack. It is your bed, your tent, and your blanket all in one. You check your boots. You check them twice. A blown lace or a loose hobnail out in the forest is a disaster. You tighten the straps until your feet feel encased in wood. Forest duty, Gaius grumbles, pulling on his tunic. He looks less like a soldier and more like a disgruntled bear. I hate the trees, they look at you. They're just trees, Gaius, you say, checking the edge of your sword. That's what they want you to think, he mutters. It's unnatural. Walking around in circles waiting for a ghost to throw a spear at you. You don't argue. He's right in a way. The forest is different. The squad assembles by the north gate. There are 8 of you, your contubernium, plus the Optio, a grim-faced man named Severus, who seems to communicate mostly in grunts and hand signals. The sky is a flat, bruised purple. It is freezing, the kind of cold that makes the hair in your nose stiffen instantly. The gate creaks open. The heavy timber doors swing inward, revealing the white expanse of the road leading into the tree line. Move out, Severus whispers. You step across the threshold. The transition is immediate. Inside the fort there is noise, order, straight lines. Outside there is only the wind and the chaotic jumble of nature. You walk in a double column. You're on the right, shield up, eyes scanning the trees. The forest begins about 200 yards from the walls. The Romans cut back the trees to create a killing zone, a clear space where no enemy can hide. But beyond that line, the ancient woods take over. You enter the shade of the trees. The light drops instantly. It is twilight in here, even though the sun is rising somewhere above the canopy. The trees are massive, oaks and pines that have stood here since before Romulus killed Remus. Their trunks are like pillars of a dark temple, covered in moss and lichen. The snow is deeper here. It hasn't been packed down by thousands of boots. You have to lift your knees high. Crunch, sink, crunch, sink. It is exhausting work. The silence is the first thing you notice. In the fort, there is always noise. Here, the snow dampens everything. The world feels muffled, like you are walking inside a bale of wool. The only sounds are the breathing of your squad, the creak of leather straps, and the occasional thud of a clump of snow falling from a branch. You focus on your sector. You scan from the ground up to the branches, then back down. You look for straight lines. Nature doesn't make straight lines. If you see a straight line, it's a spear, a bow, or a man. You walk for an hour, then 2. The cold seeps through your armour. You flex your fingers inside your gloves to keep the blood moving. Your nose is running, but you can't wipe it. You just let it freeze. Halt, Severus signals. He raises a fist. The column stops instantly. You drop to one knee, shield planted in the snow. You listen. Did a twig snap? Was a deer a wolf? Or a painted warrior stepping on a dry branch? You hold your breath. The silence stretches. You can hear the blood rushing in your ears. Whoosh, whoosh. Severus stands still for a long minute, his head cocked to the side. Then he relaxes slightly. Clear. Move. You stand up. The adrenaline spike fades, leaving you feeling slightly drained. This is the rhythm of patrol. Hours of boredom punctuated by seconds of terror. You march on. The terrain starts to rise. You're climbing a ridge. The path narrows, turning into a deer trail. The branches whip at your face. You keep your head down, letting the rim of your helmet take the hits. Thwack, scratch. You come across a stream. It is half frozen, a ribbon of black water flowing under shelves of white ice. The stones in the riverbed are coated in ice, looking like glass eggs. You have to cross it. Watch your step, Gaius whispers from behind you. You step onto a rock. It is slippery. You find your balance, the heavy pack threatening to topple you over. You step to the next one. Your boot slides, dipping into the water. Splash. Damn, you hiss. Cold water, liquid ice, seeps into your bootlet. It soaks your wool sock instantly. It is a shock, a sudden sharp pain. You scramble up the bank on the other side. Now you have a wet foot. In the summer, this is an annoyance. In the winter, it is a liability. You wiggle your toes constantly as you walk, generating friction, trying to keep the blood flowing so the frostbite doesn't set in. You're angry at the rock, angry at the stream, angry at the Empire for sending you here. But you keep walking. Around midday, you reach the objective. It is a clearing on top of the ridge. In the centre stands a watchtower. It is a lonely structure. A square wooden tower surrounded by a small ditch and a palisade. It looks abandoned. "Check it out," Severus orders. You and Lucius approach the tower. The gate to the palisade is open. That's not good. You draw your sword. You step inside. The snow in the courtyard is undisturbed. No footprints. You climb the ladder to the tower platform. The wood creaks under your weight. You poke your head up through the trapdoor. Empty. Just a pile of dead leaves and some bird droppings. The sentries who were supposed to be here are gone. Pulled back to the main fort for the winter, probably. Or maybe something else. You check for signs of a struggle. Blood? Broken weapons? Nothing, just emptiness. "Clear!" you shout down. The squad relaxes. You set up a perimeter. It is time for a short rest. You sit down on a log, keeping your shield between you and the tree line. You open your pack. You take out a strip of dried beef. It is hard as leather and salty enough to preserve a mummy. You gnaw on it. It takes a lot of chewing. The act of chewing warms your face. You look out from the ridge. The view is spectacular in a desolate way. You can see for miles, a sea of white and green, endless forest, rolling hills. To the south, you can see the thin grey line of smoke that marks the fort. It looks tiny, fragile, a speck of order in a chaotic world. "Look at that," Lucius says, pointing to the north. You look. Far away, on a distant hill, you see a thin wisp of smoke rising from the trees. "Village?" Lucius asks. "Maybe," you say, "or a charcoal burner or a signal fire. Should we go check?" "Not our orders," you say, chewing the beef. "Our orders are to check the tower and go back. We don't go looking for trouble." You watch the smoke. It is a reminder that you are not alone out here. There are eyes in the woods, people who live here. People who were here long before the eagles arrived. You wonder what they're cooking. Probably venison. Maybe a stew with wild onions. "All right, wrap it up," Severus grunts. "We need to be back before dark. I don't want to be in these woods when the moon comes up." You stand up, you check your wet boot. It feels numb, but you can still move the toes. That's good. The march back is faster. It's downhill and you're heading toward home. The horses in the stable call it the barn urge. Soldiers have it too. But the forest seems to have changed. The light is fading fast. The shadows are getting longer, stretching across the path like grasping fingers. The trees look different in the dim light. Knotholes look like eyes. Twisted branches look like limbs. You hear a sound, a crack, loud, close. Everyone freezes. Swords out, shields up. You form a defensive circle facing outward. The orb. "Left flank," Severus whispers. You stare into the gloom. You see movement. A shape, grey and low to the ground, then another. Wolves. They are huge. Timber wolves, grey fur matted with snow. They stand at the edge of the clearing watching you. Their yellow eyes reflect the little light that is left. They don't look afraid. They look calculating. There are 5 of them. 5 against 8 armed Romans. They know the math. They are just checking, assessing weakness. Severus says, "Don't break the line." You bang your sword against your shield. Clang. The sound is sharp, unnatural. It startles the silence. The lead wolf flinches. It looks at you, curls its lip to show a flash of white fang, and then turns. It trots away into the darkness, silent as smoke. The others follow. "They're gone," Gaius exhales. He sounds relieved. "They're tracking us," Severus corrects. "Keep moving, double time." You move faster now. You don't run. Running is for cowards and prey, but you march with urgency. You check your 6 constantly. You expect to see those yellow eyes again. The last mile is a race against the sun. The sky turns a deep indigo. The temperature drops another 10 degrees. Your wet foot is a block of wood now. You can't feel it at all. Then you see it. The break in the trees, the clearing, the fort. The torches are lit on the gatehouse. They flicker in the wind, beacons of civilization. You have never seen a more beautiful sight. "Halt! Who goes there?" The sentry calls out from the wall. "Patrol, Optio Severus," Severus shouts back. Password: victory! Advance! The gates open, you march inside. As soon as the heavy timber doors slam shut behind you and the bar drops into place with a thud, the tension snaps. Your shoulders drop 3 inches. You let out a breath you didn't know you were holding. You are back. You are inside the walls. The wolves are outside. The cold is outside. Dismissed, Severus says. Report to the infirmary for that foot soldier. He points at you. He noticed. Of course he noticed. Yes, Optio. You limp toward the barracks first. You need to drop your gear. You enter the room. It is warm. The fire is blazing. The smell of wood smoke and unwashed men wraps around you like a hug. You made it, Felix says from his bunk. We were betting on the bears. Wolves, you say, unbuckling your belt. The armour falls off with a clatter. You feel light as a feather. You sit on your stool, you start to unlace your boots. The wet one is difficult, the leather is frozen stiff, you have to pry it off. You peel off the wet sock. Your foot is white and wrinkled, waxy looking. You rub it. It tingles, painfully. That's a good sign. Pain means life. Get near the fire, Gaia says, handing you a cup of wine. But not too close, don't cook it. You sip the wine. It is cheap and sour, but it tastes like nectar. You sit there, massaging your foot, listening to the crackle of the fire. You think about the wolves. You think about the silent tower. You think about the endless trees. You survived another day. The frontier tried to eat you, but you walked away. You look at the pot hanging over the fire. It's empty now, just the remnants of the morning's porridge crusted on the sides. Who's cooking tonight, you ask. I am, Felix says. Lentils, and I found an onion. Don't burn it, you say. I never burn it, Felix lies. You lean back against the wall. You're exhausted. Your body aches. Your foot throbs. But you are safe. You're warm. And soon there will be lentils. The world outside is vast and cold and full of teeth, but in here, in this small wooden box, life is good. You close your eyes just for a moment and listen to the sound of the spoon scraping the pot. Scrape, scrape, scrape. The sound of home. The sensation of a thawing foot is a curious mix of pleasure and torture. As you sit on your stool, your bare foot resting near, but not too near. The hearth. The blood begins to return to the capillaries. It starts as a dull ache, a heavy throb that matches your heartbeat. Then comes the tingling, the pins and needles. It feels as though 1,000 tiny ants are marching under your skin. It is uncomfortable, yes, but it is reassuring discomfort. It is the feeling of the body repairing itself. It is the feeling of survival. You wiggle your toes, they move, good, you will keep them. While your foot remembers how to be a foot, your hands are busy. A soldier's gear is his life, and the forest is cruel to gear. The snow, the damp air, the splash from the stream, all of these are conspiring to turn your iron into orange dust. Rust is the silent killer of the Legion. It is patient, relentless, and eats through a sword blade faster than you might think. You have your kit spread out on a piece of oilcloth on the floor. The lorica, your segmented armour, is dismantled into its main sections. You take a rag, a piece of old coarse wool that has been demoted from tunic duty to cleaning duty, and you dip it into a pot of sand and oil. The sand is fine, river sand, abrasive enough to scour but not enough to scratch deeply. The oil is the same olive oil you use on your skin, though this batch is the dregs, the cloudy stuff from the bottom of the amphora. You begin to scrub. Scour, scour, scour. The sound is rhythmic, a dry, rasping noise. You focus on the hinges, the brass fittings where the leather straps connect the iron plates. This is where moisture hides. You work the rag into the crevices, chasing away the water. Felix is at the fire. He is the master of ceremonies tonight. He is stirring the iron pot with a level of concentration usually reserved for disarming a trap. It's an onion, Felix announces, not for the first time. He holds up a small, brown, shriveled object as if it were the crown jewels. A real onion, not a wild leek. An onion! Where did you get it? Lucius asks from his bunk where he's whittling a stick. Don't ask questions you don't want the answers to, Felix says mysteriously. He takes his dagger and slices the onion. The skin is papery and dry, flaking off onto the floor. But as he cuts into the flesh, a sharp, pungent aroma fills the room. It is strong, it makes your eyes water slightly, even from 5 feet away. But God, it smells good. It smells of civilization. It smells of complexity. In a world of bland grain and salted meat, an onion is a flavour explosion. Felix scrapes the chopped onion into the pot. Sizzle! The sound is aggressive. The onion hits the hot rendering fat at the bottom of the pot. The smell changes instantly from sharp to sweet, caramelizing. Lentils, Felix narrates. Lentils are the food of philosophers. Did you know that? Zeno ate lentils. Probably. Zeno didn't have to march 20 miles in the snow, Gaius grunts. He is lying on his back, staring at the ceiling, his hands behind his head. He marched in his mind, Felix retorts, pouring a sack of small brown discs into the pot. Shh, clatter. Then he adds the water. A great cloud of steam billows up, joining the smoke in the rafters. You go back to your armour. You have finished the scouring. Now comes the oiling. You take a clean rag, dip it in pure oil and wipe down the metal. The iron drinks it in. It turns from a dull, thirsty grey to a deep, lustrous black silver. It gleams in the firelight. You reassemble the armour, checking the leather straps. One of them is getting worn near the buckle. You make a mental note to replace it next week. You stack the armour in the corner. It looks ready. It looks professional. Next, the sword. The gladius. You pull it from the scabbard. You inspect the blade. There, near the tip, a tiny spot of orange, rust. Yenam has established a beachhead. You take a small piece of pumice stone, you rub the spot gently, scratch. The orange dust flakes away, revealing the clean steel beneath. You smile. Victory. You oil the blade heavily, sliding the cloth up and down the steel. You slide it back into the scabbard. Snick. The room is settling down. The adrenaline of the patrol is fully dissipated, replaced by a deep, heavy fatigue. It is a pleasant tiredness. Your muscles feel loose, warm and heavy. Gaius rolls over. Those wolves, he says. They were big, huge, Lucius agrees. My grandmother used to say that wolves are the spirits of old soldiers, Gaius says. Soldiers who died without a proper burial. They come back to check on the living, to see if we're doing it right. That's cheery, Felix says, stirring the lentils. It makes sense, Gaius continues. Did you see how they moved in formation? They had a flanker, they had a point man, they were testing our line. That wasn't animal instinct, that was tactics. You think about the wolf that looked at you, the intelligence in those yellow eyes. If they were soldiers, you say quietly, then they knew better than to attack a formed squad. They knew the math. Exactly, Gaius nods. Professional courtesy. The conversation drifts. It moves from wolves to the weather, then to the rumours of a new emperor back in Rome, Hadrian. They say he's a soldier's emperor. They say he marches with the men, eats the same cheese, drinks the same sour wine. I heard he wears a beard, Lucius says, like a Greek philosopher. A beard, Gaius scoffs. A Roman emperor with a beard. Next, you'll tell me he wears trousers. It's true, Lucius insists. The courier told me. A full beard, curly. You run a hand over your own chin. It is rough with 2 days of stubble. You're supposed to shave. A Roman face is a smooth face. It distinguishes you from the hairy barbarians. But if the emperor has a beard, maybe you can get away with skipping a day. The razor is cold and the water is hard. Soup's ready, Felix announces. The magic words. You all gather around. The ritual repeats. The wooden bowls, the ladle. The lentil soup is different from the bean soup. It is darker, earthier. The lentils have broken down into a thick, muddy puree. It looks like the mud of the riverbank, but it smells of sweet onion and savoury fat. Felix dishes it out. He gives you a generous portion. The frozen foot, he says. You take the bowl. It is hot against your palms. You sit back down. You take a spoonful. The texture is grainy, soft, and comforting. The flavour is deep. The lentils have a peppery, iron-rich taste. And the onion is a revelation. Sweet, slippery ribbons of flavour that cut through the heaviness of the pulse. It is simple food, peasant food, but tonight it tastes like a banquet. You eat slowly. You are not just filling your stomach, you are refuelling your soul. You feel the heat spreading through your chest. As you eat, you look around the room. The firelight flickers on the faces of your friends. Gaius, the ox, eating with efficient shovel-like motions. Lucius, the boy, blowing on his spoon, his eyes wide. Felix, the artist, watching everyone eat, waiting for approval. Good onion, you say. Felix beams. Hold you. Zeno knew his stuff. You finish the bowl, you wipe it clean with a piece of bread. You feel full, heavy, safe. The wind is picking up outside again. You can hear it moaning around the eaves of the barracks. It sounds angry, it sounds lonely, but it can't get in. You put your bowl away, it is time for the final task of the day. You unroll your bedroll. It is a simple pallet on a wooden frame, a straw mattress packed tight, a rough woolen blanket. You fluff the straw a little, trying to redistribute the lumps. It's not a featherbed in a Roman villa, but it's yours. You take off your tunic, the air is cool on your skin, but the room is warm enough. You keep your undershirt on, you climb into the bunk. The wool blanket is scratchy, but it is thick. You pull it up to your chin, you curl up on your side, facing the fire. From this angle, the fire is a glowing eye. You watch the embers pulsing. They breathe. Bright orange, dull red, bright orange. It is hypnotic. The others are settling in too. Night, lads, Gaius mumbles. Night, night. The sounds of the barracks shift. The clatter of gear stops. The talking stops. Now it is just the sounds of sleep, the shifting of straw, the slow deepening breathing of 7 other men. You close your eyes. Your body sinks into the mattress. The straw conforms to your shape. The tension in your back releases. The ache in your legs fades into a dull background hum. You think about the day. The white snow, the black trees, the yellow eyes of the wolf, the orange rust on the sword, the brown lentils. It is all colours, it is all sensory. You think about tomorrow. Probably timber duty. Fixing the palisade. Hard work, but safe work, no wolves. You feel a profound sense of gratitude. You're warm, you're fed, you're surrounded by men who would die for you. Your breathing slows down, in, out, in, out. You listen to the fire one last time. Pop, a log settles. The image of the wolf comes back to you, but it's not scary anymore. It's just a memory, the spirit of an old soldier checking the line. We held the line, you think to yourself, we held the line. And with that thought you let go, you drift. You float away from the barracks, away from the snow, away from the empire. You drift into the dark, warm, velvet silence of sleep. The hand shaking your shoulder is gentle but firm. It pulls you up from the bottom of a deep dark well of sleep. You groan, a low vibration in your chest, and try to bat the hand away. You're warm, you're comfortable, you're dreaming of a vineyard in Tuscany where the sun is so hot it melts the wax on the wine amphora. Time, a voice whispers. It is Valerius. He is the one you are relieving. Your watch, third watch, the reality of the situation crashes down on you. The vineyard vanishes, the grey timber ceiling of the barracks returns. The air in the room has cooled significantly since you fell asleep. The fire is just a pile of grey ash with a few dull red eyes blinking in the centre. You sit up. The movement is a tragedy. The warm air trapped under your blanket escapes, replaced instantly by the biting chill of the room. You shiver violently. It's cold out there, Valerius whispers. He sounds exhausted. His nose is red, and there are ice crystals in his eyebrows. Clear, though? No wind! Joy, you croak. You slide your legs out of the bunk. The floor is freezing. You fumble in the dark for your clothes. You don't put on your armour. Sentry duty on the walls at night usually doesn't require the full iron shell unless there is an alert. Instead, you layer up. First your second tunic, you pull it over the first one. 2 layers of wool. Next, your subarmalis, the padded jacket usually worn under armour. It acts as a heavy quilt. Then the scarf. You wrap it twice around your neck, pulling it up over your chin. Finally, the penula, the heavy hooded cloak. It is made of thick, felted wool oiled to repel water. It is heavy as a lead sheet. You throw it over your shoulders and pull the hood up. You look like a monk of some dark martial order. You grab your spear, the hasta. It is a long ash pole with a leaf-shaped iron head. It is your walking stick and your weapon. You leave the shield. It's too heavy to lug back and forth for a standing watch. You step carefully over the sleeping form of Lucius. He is mumbling something about chickens. You step out the door. The cold hits you. But Valerius was right. There is no wind. The air is still, frozen solid. It feels like walking into a block of crystal. It is so cold that the air feels thin, sharp in your lungs. Every breath you take freezes the hairs inside your nostrils. Sniff, crackle. You walk toward the stairs leading up to the rampart. The camp is silent. Not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of suspension. 5,000 men are sleeping around you. You can hear the occasional cough from the nearby tent, or the stomp of a horse. But mostly it is just the sound of your own boots crunching on the snow. Crunch, crunch, crunch. You climb the wooden stairs. The wood is slick with frost. You grip the rail tight. The leather of your glove freezes to the wood for a second before pulling free. You reach the walkway, the vallum. 'Tis a wooden platform running along the top of the turf rampart. You are 15 feet in the air. You find the post. The sentry you are relieving, a man from the 4th cohort named Titus, is huddled against the palisade, stamping his feet. "Password?" he asks, his voice muffled by his scarf. "Vittery," you say. "Jupiter be praised," he says. "I can't feel my toes. The northern sky is doing something weird." "Weird? You'll see. Have a good watch." He hurries past you, eager for the warmth of his blankets. You are alone. You settle into your position. You lean the spear against the timber wall. You wrap your cloak tighter around yourself, turning into a wool cone. You look out. The view is breathtaking and terrifying. The moon is down, but the stars are blazing. In this cold, dry air, without a single cloud to obscure them, they look incredibly close, millions of them. A river of milk spilled across the black dome of the sky. You can see the constellations clearly. Orion, the hunter, striding across the south. The Great Bear hanging over the forest to the north. They look like diamonds scattered on black velvet. They are sharp, piercing points of light. But Titus was right. The northern sky is doing something else. Low on the horizon, above the black, jagged line of the treetops, there is a glow. At first, you think it is a fire. A distant village burning? A barbarian army camp? But the colour is wrong. It isn't orange or red. It is green, a pale, ghostly, sickly green. As you watch, it moves, it shimmers. Great curtains of light begin to unfurl across the sky. They ripple and twist, like silk blowing in a slow wind. They rise up, turning from green to a faint, bruised purple at the edges. The aurora. You have seen it before, but it never ceases to stop your heart. To a Roman, this is not atmospheric physics. This is the gods. Is it the spirits of the dead marching to the underworld? Is it the reflection of the gods' armour as they feast in the heavens? Or is it an omen, a warning? The light pulses. It seems to breathe. It washes out the stars behind it. It casts a strange, ethereal glow on the snow in front of the fort. The snow turns a dull, alien green. The trees look like black skeletons silhouetted against a wall of magic. You feel very small. You're a Roman soldier, a citizen of the greatest empire the world has ever known. You have roads, laws, aqueducts, and philosophy. But standing here under this shifting silent light, you realise how far away Rome is. Rome is a warm golden dream. This is the edge of reality. You shiver, not just from the cold. You begin to pace. Standing still is the enemy. You walk 10 paces to the left, turn. Walk 10 paces to the right, turn. Pace, turn, pace, turn. The movement generates heat. Your heavy cloak swings around your ankles. You hold the spear across your shoulders, resting your arms on it to open your chest. You look down at the killing field outside the wall. The ditch, the fossa, is filled with snow. The kippy, the sharpened stakes planted in the ground to break a charge, are just black spikes poking through the white blanket. They look like the teeth of a buried monster. Nothing is moving. The wolves are gone. The deer are sleeping. Even the owls are silent. The world is frozen in a perfect glass-like stillness. You let your mind wander. It is the only way to pass the hours. You think about the letter you're writing to your brother in Capua. You haven't finished it yet. You need to tell him about the cold, but you don't want to sound weak. You will tell him about the aurora. You will tell him the sky's painting pictures. He won't believe you. He is a baker. His world is heat, flour and yeast. He cannot imagine a sky that bleeds green light. You think about the soup you had earlier. The taste of the onion. It feels like a week ago. Your stomach rumbles quietly. The furnace needs more fuel. You reach into your pouch and pull out a piece of hardtack. It is frozen solid. You put it in your mouth and suck on it, letting your saliva soften it. It tastes of flour and dust. but it is something. You watch the lights dance. They are fading a little now, retreating back toward the horizon. The show is over. The gods have gone to bed. The silence returns, heavier than before. You hear a sound from inside the fort, a rhythmic metallic clank, clank, clank. You turn. Below you, inside the walls, you see a figure walking with a lantern. It is the centurion of the guard making his rounds. He's checking that the sentries are awake. You straighten up, you stand tall, you grip your spear. You're a statue of vigilance. The lantern bobs closer. You can see the light swinging, casting long, jumping shadows against the barracks walls. He stops below your position. "Post 3, he calls out softly. "Post 3, secure," you reply. Your voice sounds loud in the silence. The vapour from your breath shoots out like a cannon blast. "Anything to report?" "Sky is active, sir. Lights." "I saw," the centurion says. He pauses. "Keep your eyes on the trees, not the stars. Barbarians don't fall from the sky." "Yes, sir." He moves on. The lantern bobs away, disappearing around the corner of the granary. You're alone again, but the visit grounded you. It reminded you of your purpose. You are not a philosopher staring at the heavens. You are a wall. You are the barrier between the Roman peace and the chaos of the wild. You lean against the parapet. The wood is covered in a thin layer of hoarfrost. You scratch it with your fingernail. Scritch. You draw a small shape, a fish, a simple symbol. Then you rub it out. The cold is seeping through your boots now. The creeping death, the veterans call it. It starts in the toes and works its way up. You start wiggling your toes again. Tap, tap, tap. You flex your calves. You do a few squats, your knees popping in the cold air. You wonder what time it is. The sky tells you. The Great Bear has rotated around the North Star. It must be nearing the 4th watch. The Gallicinium, the cockcrow. Although there are no roosters here, only ravens. You look to the east. The sky is still black, but it is of a different kind of black. It is a tired black. The stars on the horizon are dimming. The dawn is coming. It is still hours away, but the night has broken its back. You feel a sudden wave of fatigue. Your eyelids feel gritty. The adrenaline of the cold has worn off, leaving just the heavy, dull weight of endurance. You want to sit down, but you can't. If you sit down, you fall asleep. If you fall asleep, you freeze. Or worse, you get flogged. So you sing, quietly, under your breath, a marching song. Mille, 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 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. We killed 1,000 Franks. And now we look for 1,000 Persians. It's a stupid song, brutal and repetitive, but the rhythm helps. Thump, thump, thump. You look back at the forest. Is that a shadow moving? You freeze. You squint. Your heart kickstarts again. You stare at a clump of bushes near the tree line. It looked like it shifted. You watch it for a full minute. Your eyes are watering from the cold, making the world blur. Nothing. Just the wind moving a branch or your mind playing tricks. The sentry's madness. When you stare at nothing for too long, your brain starts to invent things to fill the void. You relax slightly. The eastern sky is definitely turning now. The black is bleeding into a deep slate grey. The stars are winking out one by one, retreating before the coming sun. And then you hear it. The sound of boots on the wooden stairs. The relief. It is the most beautiful sound in the world. A head pops up over the railing. It is Marcus. He looks miserable. He's wrapped in so much wool he looks like a walking sheep. "Morning," he grunts. "Is it?" you ask. "Close enough. The cooks are lighting the fires. I smell smoke." "Music to my ears," you say. You exchange the password. Victory. It feels ironic. The only victory right now is surviving the night. "Anything out there?" Marcus asks, taking your spot. "Just the gods," you say, "and a lot of snow." "Get some sleep," he says. You don't need telling twice. You grab your spear and head for the stairs. Going down is easier than going up. Gravity is your friend. You hit the ground. The snow in the camp is blue in the pre-dawn light. You walk back to the barracks. You're stiff. Your body feels like it is made of rusty hinges. You open the door. The warmth hits you. It is stale, smelling of unwashed bodies and old farts, but it is warm. It is magnificent. The fire has been stoked by someone. There are fresh flames licking at a new log. You strip off the heavy cloak. It is stiff with frost on the shoulders. You hang it on a peg. You unwind the scarf. Your neck feels naked and vulnerable. You take off the subermalice. You're back to your tunic. You keep it on. You keep your socks on. You crawl back into your bunk. The straw is cold now, but the blanket still holds a memory of heat. You pull it over your head. You curl into a ball. You close your eyes. The image of the green lights in the sky is burned into your retina. You can still see them swirling behind your eyelids. You listen to the sounds of the barracks waking up, the first stirrings of the day. But they are not for you. You have done your duty. You have bought your rest. The sounds drift away, the cold fades, the green light fades. You are drifting, back to the vineyard, back to the sun, back to the heat. Sleep takes you instantly, like a stone dropping into a deep, dark pool. The sound of the world has changed. For 3 months, the soundtrack of your life has been the howling wind and the sharp crack of frost. But now, as you stand outside the barracks door, the world is playing a different tune. It is a wet, rhythmic, relentless music. Drip, drip, splash, gurgle. The great thaw has begun. It is mid-March. The sun has finally remembered its job. It hangs higher in the sky, no longer a pale, heatless disk, but a warm yellow presence that actually prickles the back of your neck. But with the warmth comes the water. The pristine white blanket that covered the fort for so long is gone. In its place is a landscape of retreating, dirty snowbanks that look like old grey wool, and beneath them, the new enemy. Mud. Not just dirt, not just damp earth, but lutum, Roman mud, deep, sucking brown glue that covers everything. The parade ground, once a frozen sheet of iron, is now a quagmire. You take a step. Squelch. Your boot sinks 3 inches. You lift your foot. The mud makes a loud sucking sound, thwack, as it tries to pull your boot off your foot. You have to walk with a strange high-stepping gait, like a heron wading in a swamp. General Mud has taken the field, Gaius says, wading past you. He's carrying a shovel. His tunic is splattered with brown specks up to his armpits. And he is winning. Better than General Frost, you reply, shielding your eyes from the glare of the sun on a puddle. Is it? Gaius grumbles. Frost bites, but mud insults you. It gets everywhere. I found mud in my ear this morning. How does that even happen? You are on drainage duty. It is the most important job in the fort right now. If the water doesn't drain, the foundations of the barracks will rot and the centurion will have you digging latrines until you are 40. You march, or rather squelch, toward the drainage ditch that runs alongside the Via Principalis. It is clogged with debris, dead leaves, twigs, and the accumulated trash of winter that was hidden under the snow. You plunge your shovel into the muck. The water is cold, but the air is mild. You heave a shovel load of wet sludge onto the bank. Slap. It is heavy, dirty work. But there is a joy in it. The air smells different. Gone is the sterile, metallic scent of snow. In its place is the smell of wet earth. It is a heavy biological smell, the smell of things waking up. It smells of worms, of damp roots, of potential. As you work, you peel off your upper tunic. For the first time in months, you're working in your shirt sleeves. The cool breeze on your sweaty arms feels incredible. It feels like freedom. Look, Lucius says. He's pointing at the bank of the ditch, near the timber wall. You lean on your shovel. There, pushing up through a patch of melting snow and dead grass, is a splash of colour. Not brown, not grey, not white. Green. It is a clump of nettles, bright, vibrant, violent green, and next to it the slender, spear-like leaves of wild garlic. Ramsons. You stare at them as if they were emeralds. After months of looking at dried beans, salted meat, and brown bread, the sight of fresh vegetation triggers a primal hunger in your gut. Your body screams for vitamins. Can we eat them? Lucius asks. The nettles, yes, if you boil the sting out, you say. But the garlic, oh, the garlic. You kneel down in the mud, ignoring the wetness soaking into your knees. You pinch a leaf of the wild garlic. You rub it between your thumb and forefinger. The scent releases instantly. It is sharp, grassy, and pungently oniony. It smells like life itself. Harvest them, you order. Fill your helmet. Lucius grins. He takes off his helmet and starts picking. This is better than gold. This is dinner. Later that afternoon, the work is done. The ditches are flowing. The sound of running water is a cheerful gurgle, carrying the meltwater out of the fort and down to the river. The fort is drying out. You return to the barracks. You're covered in mud. Your boots are unrecognizable lumps of clay. You spend 20 minutes outside the door, scraping them with a stick and rinsing them with a bucket of water. Inside, the mood is light. The heavy depression of the long dark is lifting. The shutters are thrown open, letting in the late afternoon sun and the fresh breeze. The stale air of the winter is being chased away. And there is news. "The gates are open," Felix announces, walking in with a basket. "The traders are back. The supply wagons have made it through. The roads are slushy but passable. The winter siege is broken." "What did you get?" Gaius asks, looking up from his armour maintenance. Felix smiles like a magician. He reaches into the basket and pulls out an object. It is white, smooth and oval. "An egg. Fresh eggs," Felix says reverently. "From a farm down in the valley. The chickens are laying again." The room goes scent. An egg. It seems like such a simple thing, but you haven't seen a fresh egg since November. And Felix continues, playing his trump card. Cheese. Fresh goat cheese. Soft, not the salted brick we've been gnawing on. He produces a small wheel of cheese wrapped in vine leaves. It is white and crumbly. You look at your bounty. The helmet full of wild garlic leaves, the basket of eggs, the fresh cheese. "Gentlemen," you say, standing up. "Night we feast." You take charge of the fire. You don't want a roaring blaze tonight. You want a gentle heat. You build a small fire, letting it burn down to steady coals. You take the frying pan, the patterer. It is a shallow bronze pan with a long handle. You place it over the heat. You throw in a knob of butter, real butter, that Felix also managed to scrounge. The butter melts, foaming and sizzling. Hiss pop, it smells rich and creamy. You take the wild garlic. You have washed the leaves carefully. You chop them roughly with your dagger. You toss them into the foaming butter. Sizzle! The smell hits the room instantly. It is incredible. The sharp, raw garlic smell softens as it hits the heat, turning into a mellow, savoury aroma that makes your mouth water so hard it hurts. The bright green leaves wilt slightly, turning a darker, glossy emerald. "By the gods," Gaius whispers. You crack the eggs. 1, 2, 3, 4. You whisk them in a bowl with a fork, adding a splash of water to make them fluffy. You pour the golden mixture into the pan over the wilting greens. Swoosh! The eggs hit the hot pan. You don't scramble them immediately. You let them set for a second on the bottom. Then you gently push them with a wooden spoon. Huge, soft curds of yellow egg fold over the ribbons of green garlic. You crumble the fresh goat cheese over the top. The white curds sink into the soft yellow eggs, beginning to melt just slightly at the edges. You sprinkle a pinch of salt and a heavy grinding of black pepper. It takes only a minute. You pull the pan off the fire while the eggs are still slightly runny. They will finish cooking in their own heat.
Slow down.
Overcooked eggs are a crime against nature. You serve it directly from the pan. There are no individual plates for this. You all lean in with your spoons and chunks of bread. You take a scoop, egg, garlic, cheese on a piece of bread. You put it in your mouth. It is soft. That is the first sensation. After months of hardtack and tough meat, the softness is shocking. It is velvety. The egg is rich and creamy. The cheese adds a tart, tangy brightness. And the wild garlic, it tastes green. It tastes of the forest. It tastes of spring. It is arguably the best meal you have ever eaten. I could cry, Lucius says, his mouth full. Don't cry, Gaius says. Just eat. You eat in silence, savouring every bite. The flavours are bright and clean. They wash away the heavy, greasy memories of the winter stews. It feels like all your blood is cleaning itself. As you finish, wiping the pan clean with the last crust of bread, you hear a sound from outside. It is a bird, but not a crow, it is a thrush. It is singing a complex, trilling song from the roof of the barracks. Tweet, trill, chirp. It is the music of the season. You lean back on your stool. The sun is setting now, casting a long, golden rectangle of light across the floor. Dust motes dance in the beam. The campaign starts soon, Severus, the Optio says from the doorway. He's been leaning there, watching you eat. You didn't hear him come in. We know, you say. The legate wants to push north, Severus says, beyond the wall, to the heather. Let him want, Gaius says. Tonight we digest. Severus smirks. Fair enough, check your gear. We march in 3 days. He leaves. The news hangs in the air. Marching, fighting, the long dusty roads, the summer heat, the flies, the blood. But not tonight. Tonight the doors open. The air is mild. Your belly is full of fresh food. You look at your hands. The mud is scrubbed out of the fingernails. You feel renewed. The winter did not kill you. The cold did not break you. You are a sprout pushing up through the snow just like the garlic. You decide to step outside for a moment before bed. The camp at twilight is beautiful in a new way. The mud is freezing over slightly as the temperature drops, crunch neck under your feet. The sky is a soft pastel gradient of pink and blue. You walk to the gate. It is open. The sentries are relaxed, leaning on their spears. You look out at the road. It winds away to the south, a ribbon of brown mud cutting through the landscape. Somewhere down that road is Rome. Somewhere down that road are olive groves and marble temples. But you are here in Britannia. You take a deep breath. The air tastes of water and pine. You turn back to the fort. You are ready. Let the summer come and let the barbarians come. You have eaten the eggs of spring. You are invincible. The season has turned again. The wheel of the year has spun from the white silence of winter through the green mud of spring and landed squarely in the golden, dusty furnace of July. You are no longer a resident of a wooden room. You're a nomad. You're a snail carrying its house on its back. You are one of Marius's mules. The road stretches out ahead of you, a straight pale scar cutting through the landscape. It is a Roman road, paved with gravel and cambered to shed the rain. But right now it is dry, bone dry. Every footfall kicks up a tiny puff of yellow dust. Multiply that by 5,000 men, and you are marching inside a living cloud. You taste the dust. It grinds between your teeth. It coats the back of your throat. It settles in the creases of your neck, mixing with the sweat to form a gritty paste that chafes against your scarf. But you don't stop, you don't slow down, you just keep walking. Left, right, left, right. The rhythm is faster than the winter drill. This is the military pace, 20 miles in 5 hours. It is a pace designed to eat continents. You look at the back of Gaius in front of you. You've been staring at the back of his helmet for 3 hours. You know every scratch on the iron. You know the way his shield bounces slightly on his left shoulder. Thump, thump with every step. You are tied to him by an invisible rope of discipline. If he stops, you collide. If he speeds up, you have to stretch your stride. Let's talk about the weight. In the barracks, you felt heavy wearing just your armour. That seems laughable now. Now you're carrying the sarcina, the marching pack. It sits on a T-shaped wooden pole resting on your right shoulder. It balances there, digging into the muscle. Hanging from this pole is your entire life. There is your loculus, a leather satchel containing your rations for 3 days, bacon, hardtack, cheese. There is a net bag containing your cooking pot, your mess tin and your ladle. They clatter against each other like discordant wind chimes. Clink, clank, clink, clank. There is your cloak rolled tight. There are your spare clothes. And strapped to the very top are 2 sudis, thick wooden stakes sharpened at both ends. These are for the night's camp. You are carrying your own walls. 60 pounds, maybe 70. It presses down on you, compressing your spine. Your knees ache. Your feet burn inside your boots. But the Legion has a saying. The baggage is heavy, but defeat is heavier, so you carry it. The sun is high now. It is beating down on your helmet. The metal is hot to the touch. You can feel the heat radiating through the felt padding, cooking your brain. Sweat runs down your face, stinging your eyes. You blink the salt away. You are north of the wall now. The landscape has changed. Gone are the rolling farmlands and the thick oak forests of the south. This is the wild country, the highlands. It is a landscape of stark, dramatic beauty, though you are too tired to appreciate it fully. Huge, brooding hills rise up on either side of the valley, their peaks shrouded in mist even in summer. The slopes are covered in heather, acres and acres of purple flowers that smell sweet and dusty in the heat. The air here is different. It is thinner, cleaner. When the wind blows, it chases away the dust of the column and brings the scent of pine resin and peat. You are deep in enemy territory. The Caledonians are out there somewhere. You can't see them, but you can feel them. They are watching from the ridges. They are the shadows in the bracken. But the column is a beast that cannot be easily attacked. It is a serpent of iron miles long. The cavalry scouts are riding far ahead. The auxiliary skirmishers are sweeping the flanks. You, the heavy infantry, are the armoured corps. You're safe in the belly of the beast. Water, Lucius croaks from behind you. Drink, you say, not turning your head. You hear the uncorking of a flask pop, the sound of gulping. You reach for your own flask. It hangs at your hip. You You take a swig without breaking step. The posca is warm, has been baking in the sun for hours. It tastes like hot vinegar. It is disgusting, yet it is the most delicious thing you have ever tasted. It cuts the dust. It wets your parched tongue. You take 2 swallows, no more. You have 6 miles to go before the river. The marching songs have died out. In the first hour, the men were singing bawdy songs about a barmaid in Gaul. In the second hour, they sang the regimental anthems. Now, in the fourth hour, there is only the sound of the march. Crunch, clank, wheeze, crunch, clank, wheeze. It is a trance. Your mind detaches from your body. You go to your happy place. You think about the bathhouse back at the fort. You imagine the cold plunge pool. You mentally reconstruct the sensation of the icy water hitting your skin. It helps a little. Suddenly the trumpet sounds from the front of the column, a long rising note. Halt! The command ripples down the line. You stop. The silence that rushes in is deafening. The constant crunch-clank ceases, replaced by the heavy panting of thousands of men and the buzzing of insects. 10 minutes, the centurion shouts. Check your feet, adjust your packs. You carefully lower the heavy pole from your shoulder to the ground. Thud. Your shoulder throbs as the blood rushes back into the compressed capillaries. You rotate your arm. It feels light, floating, ghost-like. You sit down on your helmet. It is strictly forbidden to sit on your helmet during inspection, but on the march, it is a tolerated sin. You lean back against your shield. You look at the man next to you. It's Felix. He looks wrecked. His face is streaked with dust and sweat, looking like a painted mask. How far is... Felix asks. 6 miles, you say, maybe 7. My feet are hamburger, he groans. I have a blister on my heel the size of a grape. Don't pop it, you advise automatically. Let the medic look at it tonight. You look at the landscape and a hawk is circling high above the valley floor riding the thermals. It cries out, cree. It sounds lonely. The 10 minutes pass in a heartbeat. The trumpet sounds again. Packs up! A collective groan rises from the cohort. It is the sound of 500 men complaining as one. You stand up, you hoist the pole. The weight settles back onto the bruised spot on your shoulder. It hurts, but your body accepts it. Forward! March! You step off. The machine restarts. By late afternoon, the sun is dipping toward the western peaks, casting long purple shadows across the valley. The heat is breaking. The air is cooling rapidly. You reach the campsite. This is not a holiday camp. This is a castra estiva, a marching camp, and you have to build it from scratch every single night. You don't just flop down and sleep. That is how you get your throat cut. No, the Legion brings order to chaos. The surveyors have already marked out the square. White flags flutter in the breeze, marking the corners and the gate positions. First century, ditch duty, Crassus bellows. You drop your pack, but you keep your armour on. You grab your dolabra, the pickaxe that hangs from your belt. It is heavy, with a broad blade on one side and a pick on the other. You line up along the perimeter line. Dig. You swing the pick. It bites into the turf. Thunk. You tear up the heather, the roots, the black peaty soil. You are digging a V-shaped ditch. The earth you dig up goes into a basket, which is then dumped behind you to form the rampart. It is back-breaking work after a 20-mile march. Your muscles are screaming, but you do it, because the ditch is life. You work in a rhythm, swing, pull, lift, dump. The wall rises. It is an earthen bank, about 4 feet high. On top of it, you plant your stakes. The sudis you carried all day, you hammer them in, they link together to form a palisade. In 2 hours, the open meadow has been transformed. A perfect fortified square now sits in the middle of the wilderness. It has a ditch, a wall, and 4 gates. It is a temporary city. Inside, the tents are going up. Your contubernium shares a leather tent. It is made of goatskin squares sewn together. It smells of old leather and tallow. It is heavy, but it is waterproof. You pitch it in your designated spot. The exact same spot relative to the HQ tent as you had last night and the night before. The geography of the camp never changes, only the location. You could find your tent blindfolded. You hammer the pegs into the ground. You pull the guy ropes tight. The leather snaps taut. Inside the tent, the ground is covered with the crushed heather you didn't dig up. It smells amazing, sweet, floral and earthy. It is the softest carpet you have ever slept on. Now, finally, you can stop. You strip off your armour. The relief is orgasmic. You feel like you are floating. You peel off your soaking wet tunic and hang it on a guy rope to dry. You wash your face in a bucket of water. The dust turns the water brown instantly. Fire, Gaius says. It is not a question, it is a necessity. You dig a small fire pit in front of the tent. You scavenge for wood. There are no trees right here, but plenty of dead heather stems and peat. Peat burns slow and hot with a sweet smoky smell. You light the fire. The blue smoke drifts up, mingling with the smoke from 1,000 other fires. The camp looks like a field of volcanoes. "What's for dinner?" Lucius asks, rubbing his feet. "Bacon," you say, "and beans and hardtack." "Again? It's what we have, Lucius. Unless you want to go ask the Caledonians for a venison steak. You cook. It is a simpler affair than in the barracks. No slow simmering for hours. You boil the water, throw in the grain and the bacon fat and stir until it's edible. It is fuel, nothing more. But as you sit around the fire, eating the hot slop from your mess tin, watching the stars come out over the mountains, you feel a strange sense of contentment. You are tired. A deep, bone-weary tiredness that makes your limbs feel heavy as lead. But you are strong. You marched the miles, you dug the ditch, you built the wall. You look at the other fires stretching out into straight lines. You hear the low murmur of thousands of men talking, laughing, fixing their gear. It is a city of men, a brotherhood of sweat. "Look at that skiing," Felix says quietly. You look up. The highland sky is vast. The Milky Way is a bright slash of diamond dust across the darkness. There is no light pollution for 1,000 miles. "Big country," Gaius says, chewing on a piece of cheese. "Too big," you say, "but we're walking across it." "Do you think they are watching us?" Lucius whispers, looking toward the dark hills beyond the rampart. "Always," you say, "but let them watch. Let them see the ditch. Let them see the wall. Let them see that we don't sleep unprotected." You finish your meal. You clean your spoon with sand and wipe it on your tunic. The trumpet sounds. Taps. Time for sleep. You crawl into the leather tent. It is cozy inside. 8 men packed in tight. The body heat warms the space quickly. The smell of the crushed heather is strong. You lie down on your bedroll. The ground is hard, but you don't care. You could sleep on a bed of nails tonight. You close your eyes. You can still feel the rhythm of the march in your legs. Left, right, left, right. It is a phantom motion rocking you to sleep. You listen to the sounds of the camp settling down. The zip of a tent flap, the cough of a sentry, the distant neigh of a horse. You are safe behind your wall of stakes. You are safe in your leather cave. Tomorrow you will tear it all down. You will pull up the stakes. You will fill in the ditch. You will hoist the pack, and you will do it all again. But that is tomorrow. Tonight, there is only the heather, the leather, and the sleep. The march comes to a halt, not because of an enemy shield wall, but because of water. You are standing on the banks of a river. It is not the polite meandering streams of Italy, nor the sluggish, muddy flows of the lowlands. This is a highland river. It is fast, angry, and cold. The water is dark, the colour of brewed tea, stained by the peat from the moors above. It rushes over jagged black rocks, foaming white in the eddies, roaring with a sound that drowns out the conversation of the men next to you. The bridge that was supposed to be here, a local wooden structure, is gone, swept away by a flash flood or perhaps burned by the retreating tribes. All that remains are a few charred stumps of timber jutting out of the swirling current like rotten teeth. For any other army, this would be a disaster. It would mean a detour of weeks, or a dangerous chaotic ford where men and horses would be swept away. But you are not any other army. You are the Legion. To you, a river is not a barrier. It is merely an administrative inconvenience. It is a problem to be solved with geometry and sweat. "Engineers forward!" The command echoes down the line. You are not a specialised engineer, an architectus, but every legionary is a builder. You drop your pack. You keep your armour on. The enemy could be watching from the tree line on the far bank. You grab your axe. The forest nearby is about to become a road. The next 6 hours are a symphony of destruction and creation. The silence of the wilderness is shattered by the sound of Roman industry. Chop, chop, crack, crash. You're in a team assigned to fell trees. You select a tall, straight pine. It smells of resin and ancient needles. You swing your axe. The blade bites deep into the wood. Thwack. A chip of white wood flies out, spinning in the air. You swing again. Thwack. The rhythm takes over. It is different from the sword drill. It is slower, heavier. You use your back, your legs. The tree groans, it leans. Then with a rushing whoosh and a ground-shaking thud it falls. You strip the branches, you hew the trunk into a rough square beam. The smell of fresh sap is overwhelming, sharp, clean and sticky. It coats your hands. It is the smell of raw construction. Down at the riverbank, the real magic is happening. The immunes, the specialists, are setting up the pile driver. It is a simple, brutal machine. A tripod of heavy logs holding a heavy stone weight suspended by a pulley. They float a sharpened log, a pile, into position in the river. Men on a raft hold it steady against the current. Heave! A team of men pulls the rope. The stone weight rises. Drop! They let go. Bam! The stone slams down onto the top of the pile. The sound echoes off the valley walls like a thunderclap. The log drives inches into the riverbed. Heave! Drop! Bam! It is a hypnotic, industrial heartbeat. It vibrates through the soles of your boots even 50 yards away. It is the sound of the Empire stamping its authority on the earth. We are here. You drag your timber beam down to the water. It is heavy, digging into your shoulder. You and 3 others heave it onto the bank. Timber! The carpenters take over. They are working with saws and chisels. They cut joints into the wood with surgical precision. Mortise and tenon, no nails. Iron is too precious to waste on a bridge that might be burned next year. Wood holds wood. You watch them work. It is fascinating. They are building a trestle bridge. It looks fragile as they assemble the frames on the bank, but when they tilt them up and float them out to the piles, they lock into place with a satisfying solidity. The bridge grows. It extends from the bank like a wooden finger pointing north. 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet. You take a break. You sit on a stump, wiping the sweat and sawdust from your forehead. You drink water from your flask. It tastes metallic, but it is cool. You look at the river. It is still rushing, still angry, but it is losing. The piles are breaking the current. The water foams around them, forced to yield. Gaia sits next to you. He is sharpening his axe with a whetstone. My father was a bridge builder, he says unexpectedly. In Dacia. He said a bridge is a promise. It promises that we will come back. Or that we can leave fast, you say, eyeing the dark forest on the other side. That too, Gaius grins. But mostly it scares them. The tribes look at this and think, these men turned a forest into a road in half a day. What will they do to us? You nod. It is psychological warfare. It is engineering as intimidation. By late afternoon, the gap is closed. The final beams are laid across the span. Rough planks are nailed down for the decking. The sound of hammering is frantic now. Bang, 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 a crescendo of finish. Then silence. The pile driver stops. The saws stop. The bridge stands there. It is raw, yellow-white wood, gleaming against the dark water. It smells of pine and honest work. It is not pretty. It has no statues, no inscriptions. It is a tool, but it is beautiful in its utility. First cohort, advance! You pick up your pack, you hoist it, you will form up. You are the first to cross. You step onto the wood. It sounds hollow under your boots. Clomp, clomp. You can see the water rushing through the saps in the planks below. It looks dizzying, rushing away so fast, but the bridge is solid. It doesn't sway. It holds the weight of hundreds of armoured men without a groan. You reach the middle. You look upstream. You see the wild, untamed river coming at you. You look downstream. You see the river flowing away, defeated, having passed under the yoke of Rome. You step onto the far bank. The mud is soft here. You have crossed the Rubicon of the Highlands. The march continues immediately. There is no ceremony. The bridge is done. Now it is just part of the road. But as you walk away, up the slope on the other side, you look back. You see the baggage train, the mules, the carts, the oxen rumbling across the structure you helped build. You see the rear guard marching across. You built that with your sweat and your axe. It is a satisfying feeling, a tangible mark on the world. The sun begins to set, casting long shadows from the mountains. The air cools. The smell of the pine sap on your hands lingers, a sweet perfume of industry. The column winds its way up a long glen. The ground is getting rockier. The heather is thicker. You are climbing. Tonight's camp will be high up Hard ground, cold wind, but you don't mind, you're still buzzing with the energy of the build. You think about the river. You think about how it will flow all night, rushing against the piles. Swish, gurgle, swish, the bridge will stand there in the dark, alone holding the line. It is a comforting thought. You have left a piece of order behind you in the chaos. And as the rhythm of the march reasserts itself, left, right, you find yourself listening to the echo of the pile driver in your memory. Bam, bam, bam. It is a good sound to march to. End of part 11, continuing immediately to part 12. Title, Cooking Bean Soup in the Winter Barracks, the Northern Frontier. Part 12 of 20, approximately 2,000 words. The higher you climb, the quieter the world becomes. The day after the bridge build, the weather turns. It does not storm. That would be too dramatic. Instead, the sky simply descends. A low, heavy ceiling of grey cloud presses down on the hilltops. And then, the mist arrives. It starts as wisps, white fingers curling around the rocks and the heather. Then it thickens, becomes a soup, a wall, a white void. You're marching inside a cloud. Visibility drops to 20 paces, then 10, then 5. The column slows down. The confident, ground-eating stride of the Legion is replaced by a cautious, probing shuffle. You can no longer see the front of the column. You can no longer see the rear. You can only see the back of Gaius's pack and the ghostly outline of Lucius to your right. The world has shrunk. The vast, intimidating landscape of the Highlands has vanished, replaced by a personal bubble of white dampness. The sounds are muffled. The clank of armour sounds dull and flat as if wrapped in cotton wool. Voices sound close and yet far away. "Stay close," the centurion hisses. He is somewhere to your left, a disembodied voice in the fog. Do not break the line. If you get lost in this, you belong to the ghosts. You grip your shield strap tighter. You check the distance to Gaius. You could reach out and touch his cloak. Good. The mist plays tricks on your eyes. You see shapes in the whiteness. Looming giants? No, just a rock outcrop. A charging cavalryman? No, just a stunted pine tree twisting in the wind. Your senses heighten to compensate for your blindness. You smell the moisture. It smells of wet wool, wet stone and peat. You feel the droplets collecting on your eyelashes, on your nose. Your helmet is slick with condensation. Water drips from the rim down the back of your neck. Drip, drip, cold and persistent. There is a tension in the air. This is ambush weather. The tribes know this land. They could be 10 feet away, crouching in the heather, and you would never know until the spear flew. Every snapped twig sounds like a thunderclap. Every rustle of the wind sounds like a footstep. Suddenly the column stops. Halt! The word is passed back in whispers. You stand there, your heart thumping against your ribs. Why have we stopped? Did the scouts see something? Is there fighting ahead? You listen. You strain your ears against the muffling white silence. Thump, thump, thump. A sound, low, rhythmic. From the right flank. It sounds like footsteps, heavy footsteps. You draw your sword slowly. Shing. The sound is loud. Lucius draws his. You form a small, tight circle facing outward into the fog. The thumping gets closer. You can hear heavy breathing, a snort. Your knuckles are white on the sword hilt. You prepare to thrust. You imagine the painted warrior charging out of the mist, axe raised. A shape emerges, grey, massive, horned. You tense. It steps fully into view. It is a cow. A Highland cow. It is shaggy, covered in long matted red hair that hangs over its eyes. It has magnificent, wide-curving horns. It looks at you. It stops. It chews its cud slowly, a rhythmic sideways motion of its jaw. It looks completely unimpressed by the Roman Empire. Moo, it says deeply. The tension snaps. A ripple of nervous laughter goes through the ranks. Jupiter's balls, Gaius exhales, lowering his sword. I almost stabbed a cow. It's a barbarian cow, Lucius whispers. Look at the hair, definitely hostile. The cow snorts again, blowing a cloud of steam from its wet nostrils. It turns slowly, its heavy hooves squelching in the mud, and wanders back into the mist. It vanishes as quickly as it appeared, like a spirit. Forward! The column moves again, the fear recedes, replaced by the mundane misery of being wet. But the encounter has grounded you. The monsters in the mist are just cattle. Hours pass. You walk in the white void. Time loses its meaning. Is it noon? Is it evening? The light is a constant flat grey. Then, gradually, the ground levels out. You feel a change in the air pressure. A breeze picks up. The mist begins to tear. Rents appear in the white curtain, revealing glimpses of blue sky and dark earth. And then suddenly you're out of it. You walk out of the cloud bank as if walking through a door. You're on a high plateau. The sun is shining weakly, but it is there. The view opens up, and what you see stops you in your tracks. You are standing in a vast, bowl-shaped valley, and scattered across the plain are stones. Not natural stones, standing stones. Great monoliths of grey granite standing upright in circles and lines. Some are taller than 2 men. They are weathered, covered in orange lichen, ancient beyond reckoning. They cast long, stark shadows across the grass. The column winds its way through this graveyard of giants. You walk past a stone circle. You look at the centre. It is empty, just grass and wind. Who built these? Lucius asks. Tribes. Older than the tribes, the centurion says, walking past. These were here when Rome was just a muddy village on a hill. These are old gods. You look at the stones with a mixture of awe and unease. The Romans build bridges, roads, walls, things of utility. These stones are useless. They hold up nothing. They shelter no one. They exist only to mark the earth, to speak to the sky. It feels sacred here. Even the mules seem to walk quieter. Camp here, the order comes. You're setting up the castra right next to the standing stones. It feels like a transgression. The sharp, geometric square of the Roman ditch cuts across the ancient organic curves of the stone circle. New order imposed on old magic. As you dig the ditch that evening, your pick strikes something, clink. You kneel down, you pull it out of the dirt. It is a flint arrowhead. White stone, chipped into a razor-sharp point. It is not Roman, it is not Caledonian iron, it is from the stone time. You rub the dirt off it with your thumb. It feels cold and smooth, a weapon from a ghost. You put it in your pouch, a talisman. That night, the mist returns, but it stays low, hugging the ground outside the ramparts. The standing stones rise out of the fog like islands in a white sea. You are on the first watch. You stand on the rampart, looking out at the stones. The moonlight catches them. They look like hooded figures standing in council. You half expect them to move, but they are silent. The wind blows through the valley. It makes a sound as it passes through the gaps between the monoliths. A low, moaning whistle. Hoo. It is a haunting sound, but not threatening. It sounds like the earth singing to itself. You feel a strange sense of peace. The cow, the mist, the stones. This land is wild, yes, but it is not evil. It is just present. It does not care about you. It does not care about Hadrian. It just is. You lean on your spear. You are tired. Your wool cloak is heavy with the dampness of the day, but you are warm inside. You think about the cow. You chuckle softly to yourself. You look up at the stars. The same stars you saw over the bridge. The same stars you saw over the fort. They are the only constant. You close your eyes for a second, listening to the wind song of the stones. Ho! It is a lullaby, ancient, deep, and slow. The campaign will continue. There will be battles, there will be blood, but tonight there is just the mist and the stones. And you are just a small, warm spark of life standing watch in the middle of eternity. The morning brings a surprise. It does not come in the form of a rain of arrows, nor the screaming charge of chariots. It comes in silence. You are on duty at the Porta Praetoria, the main gate facing the enemy. The sun is trying to burn through the lingering morning mist, turning the air into a shimmering translucent gold. The standing stones from yesterday are just grey shadows in the distance. Movement, Lucius whispers. He is standing next to you, his knuckles white on the shaft of his spear. You look, you squint against the glare. Out of the heather, about 200 yards away, figures are emerging. They don't march in lines like you do. They flow. They move with a liquid, loose-limbed grace, stepping over the rough terrain as if they were made of water. There are 10 of them. They are not charging. They are walking slowly, their hands visible and open. The man in the lead is holding up a green mao, a branch of pine, the universal sign of parley. "Hold fire!" the centurion on the tower bellows. "Archers, hold, but keep them targeted!" You hear the creak of bowstrings being drawn taut behind you. Crack! A sound of deadly tension. The figures stop about 50 yards from the ditch. They wait. They are the enemy, the Caledoniae, the painted people. You have heard stories about them since you were a recruit. They say they eat their children. They say they worship demons. They say they run naked into battle. But looking at them now, through the cool morning air, you don't see demons. You see men. They are tall. Taller than most Romans. They have long wild hair, red and blonde and brown, washed in lime so it stands up in stiff spikes. They wear trousers, Barracks, checked with patterns of green and brown that blend perfectly with the hills. Their chests are bare despite the morning chill and covered in blue swirls. The woad tattoos, spirals, animals, knots. The designs seem to move as they breathe. Open the gate, small party only. The heavy timber gates groan open. You and your squad form a shield wall across the opening, a human barricade. Crassus walks out. He is followed by an interpreter, a Batavian auxiliary who claims to speak their guttural, throat-clearing language. The leader of the tribesmen steps forward. He is an older man, his beard braided with silver rings. He wears a heavy cloak of wolf fur over one shoulder, pinned with a massive bronze brooch that gleams in the sun. He speaks. It is a strange sound. It sounds like stones rolling in a riverbed. Rough, clattering, but with a rhythmic cadence. The interpreter listens, nodding. He says they bring gifts. The interpreter translates, his Latin thick and accented. He says they want to see the Iron Men. He says they want to trade. Crassus scowls. He hates this. He wants to conquer, not shop. But the legate has given orders. Gather intelligence. Let them approach, Crassus grunts. But if one of them touches a weapon, kill them all. The group moves closer. Now you can smell them. It is a distinct scent. It is not the smell of the unwashed Roman soldier, which is sweat, oil and garlic. This is the smell of wood smoke, old grease, wet wool and pine needles. It is a wild, organic smell. They carry baskets and bundles. They stop just 10 feet from your shield wall. You are face to face with them. You are looking directly at a warrior about your age. He has a scar running down his left cheek. His chest is tattooed with a blue stag. He's looking at your armour. He seems fascinated by the lorica segmentata. He reaches out a hand, almost touching the polished steel plate on your shoulder, then pulls back. He says something to you. You don't understand the words, but the tone is clear. Curiosity. How do you move in that metal shell? You stand rigid. You are a statue of Rome, but inside you're just as curious. You look at his spear. It has a broad leaf-shaped iron head, but the shaft is decorated with carvings of birds. It is a work of art, not just a weapon. The trade begins. It is a tense, silent barter. The tribesmen lay down their goods. Fresh venison, a whole stag gutted and cleaned, furs, beaver, wool, wolf and bear, soft, thick and warm, and baskets of something that looks like dried berries. Crassus gestures to the quartermaster. The Romans bring out their trade goods, amphorae of wine, cheap wine, the stuff from the bottom of the barrel, but here it is nectar, salt, blocks of pure white salt, and tools, small iron knives, axe heads. The leader of the tribesmen picks up an axe head. He tests the edge with his thumb. He nods. He seems impressed by the metallurgy. The Roman steel is harder than theirs. He points to the wine. He mimes drinking. The quartermaster opens a jar. He pours a small amount into a wooden cup. The chieftain drinks. His eyes widen. He coughs. Then he grins. A gap-toothed, wild grin. He says something loud and his men laugh. He says it tastes like the sun, the interpreter says. The tension in the air drops, just a fraction. Shoulders relax. The bowstrings behind you are lowered. The young warrior in front of you, the one with the scar, is still watching you. He reaches into a pouch at his belt. He moves slowly, telegraphing that he's not drawing a weapon. He pulls out a small object. He holds it out to you. You look at Crassus. The centurion gives a barely perceptible nod. Go ahead. You lower your shield slightly. You hold out your hand. The warrior drops the object into your palm. It is a comb. It is carved from bone, probably antler. It is intricate, polished smooth by use. The handle is carved in the shape of a curling snake. It is beautiful, delicate. He points to his own hair, then to yours, which is hidden under your helmet. He smiles. It is a human smile, not a barbarian snarl. You realise he wants to trade, personally. You fumble with your belt pouch with your free hand. What do you have? You have dice. You have a spoon. You have coins. You pull out a coin, a silver denarius. It has the face of the Emperor Trajan on it. It is shiny, round, and perfect. You hold it out. The warrior takes it. He holds it up to the sun. The silver flashes. He bites it gently. He looks at the face of the Emperor. He runs his thumb over the profile. He looks at you and nods. Done. He says a word. Brook. You don't know what it means. Maybe shiny, maybe good, maybe fool. You tuck the bone comb into your pouch. He tucks the coin into his. A transaction across the abyss of culture. Suddenly the chieftain barks a command. The parley is over. They have their wine, they have their steel, they pick up the Roman goods. They turn their backs on you, a display of supreme confidence, and walk back toward the tree line. They don't run. They saunter. You watch them go. You watch the checked patterns of their trousers blend into the heather until they are invisible. Secure the gate, Crassus orders. The spell is broken, the heavy doors slam shut. Boom, the bar drops. You are back inside. Did you see that? Lucius asks, his eyes wide. They were big. I got a comb, you say, patting your pouch. A comb? Gaius laughs. What are you going to comb? Your helmet? It's craftsmanship, you say defensively. That evening, the camp feels different. The venison the tribesmen brought is roasted over the fires. The smell of fresh meat, gamey, rich and smoky, fills the air, replacing the usual smell of boiled grain. You sit by the fire, turning a skewer of meat. The fat drips into the flames. Hiss. You take the bone comb out of your pouch. You examine it in the firelight. The carving is exquisite. The snake's eyes are tiny drilled holes. Someone sat by a fire just like this and spent hours making this. Someone with cold hands listening to the wind just like you. They aren't so different, you say quietly. They'd cut your throat as soon as look at you, Gaius says, chewing on a rib. Don't forget that. They traded today because they wanted steel. Tomorrow they'll use that steel to try and kill us. I know, you say, but today they didn't. You bite into the venison. It is tough but flavourful. It tastes of the wild. It tastes of the heather. You think about the silver coin. Where will it go? Will the warrior make it into a necklace? Will he trade it to another tribe? Will it end up in a bog as an offering to their gods? A tiny piece of Rome travelling north into the unknown, just like you. The mood in the tent is reward, fueled by the fresh meat. Felix brings out a surprise. They left a jug, he whispers. One of the baskets. Quartermaster missed it. He produces a clay jug sealed with beeswax. It is not Roman pottery. It is crude, hand-thrown. He unseals it, he sniffs it, he wrinkles his nose. What is it? Lucius asks. Smells like rotten bread and honey, Felix says. Who wants to try? I will, you say. You take the jug, you take a swig. It is thick, it is lukewarm, it tastes of yeast, bitter herbs, heather honey, and something earthy. It is strange. It is not wine, it is cervisia, ale. It hits your stomach with a warm, heavy thud. It is strong. Well, Gaius asks. It's terrible, you say, wiping your mouth. Give me more. You pass the jug around. The men grimace, then laugh, then drink again. It is the drink of the enemy, and somehow drinking it makes them seem less terrifying. The night deepens. The wind picks up, howling around the leather tents. You lie back on your bedroll. You can feel the bone comb pressing against your hip in your pouch. You realise that you are further from Rome than you have ever been. You are in a land where men paint their skin blue and drink heather ale. But you are also realising that the world is not just civilised and barbarian. It is shades of grey. The warrior had a smile. You like the silver. You like the comb. For a moment, in the middle of a war, two men just swapped toys. You close your eyes. The ale makes your head spin slightly, a pleasant buzzing dizziness. You dream of the warrior. In your dream, he is not fighting you. He is sitting by his own fire, combing his long hair with a silver comb while you sit by yours, counting bone coins. The wind sings the lullaby of the north. Ho! And you sleep, the sleep of the well-fed and the strangely comforted. The road ends. It doesn't end with a signpost or a monument. It just gives up. The hard, reassuring gravel of the Roman military way, which has been your lifeline back to civilization, simply peters out. It dissolves into the heather and the bog, swallowed by the landscape as if the empire just ran out of stones. You are now walking on the earth itself. The ground is spongy, wet and treacherous. Every step is a negotiation with the moss. Squish, squelch. The mood of the column has shifted. The lightness of yesterday's trade is gone. The comb you bought is tucked deep in your pouch, forgotten. Now there is only vigilance. You are in a valley that feels wrong. It is narrow, flanked by steep, craggy slopes that block out the sun. The air is still, dead still. No birds sing here. Even the wind seems to hold its breath. Eyes sharp, Severus whispers. He doesn't need to say it. Everyone feels it. You are walking in the rear guard of your sentry. You are looking down, watching where you put your feet, trying to avoid the black pools of standing water that look deep enough to drown a man. Your boot hits something hard. Clink! It isn't the dull thud of stone, it is the sharp, high-pitched ring of metal on metal. You stop, you look down. Half buried in the black peat is a shape. It is round, rusted, and covered in green slime. You kneel, you shouldn't, but curiosity pulls you down. You reach out a gloved hand and wipe away the mud. It is a helmet. But it is not like yours. It is an older style. A Kulus helmet, a simple bronze bowl with a small neck guard. It hasn't been worn for 10, maybe 20 years. The metal is pitted, eaten away by the acidic soil. You pick it up. It is heavy. Mud pours out of it like thick black blood. "What do you have?" Gaius asks. He has stopped beside you. His voice is tight. You hold it up. Gaius stares at it. He makes the sign of the horn to ward off evil. "Put it back," he hisses. "Put it back in the ground." "It's Roman," you say softly. "I know what it is," Gaius says. "It's the 9th. The 9th Legion, Legio Nona Hispana." The name hangs in the air like a curse. Every soldier knows the story, or the rumours. 10 years ago, they marched north into the mist. 5,000 men, the Eagle Standard, the cavalry, the baggage train. They marched out of Iberacum, and the mist swallowed them. They never came back. No one knows what happened. Did they die in a great battle? Did they get lost in the endless bogs? Did they desert and join the tribes? You look at the helmet in your hands. It has a dent in the side, a deep crushing indentation. That answers one question. You look around the valley floor. Now that you know what to look for, you see them. Small unnatural shapes in the grass. A rusted iron shank of a pilum spear, sticking out of a tussock like a dead reed. A leather sandal sole preserved by the bog, the hobnails rusted away to nothing. A bronze phallera, a medal, turning green on a rock. This is not a valley. It is a graveyard. But there are no bones. The wolves and the foxes have done their work long ago. All that remains is the iron. The hard, imperishable shell of the Roman war machine, slowly being digested by the earth. "Move on!" the Optio barks from down the line. "Don't linger!" You drop the helmet. It lands with a wet thud in the moss. You wipe your hands on your tunic, but the feeling of cold bronze lingers on your skin. You start marching again, but your feet feel heavier. You are walking through the wreckage of men just like you. Men who sat by fires, stirred soup, complained about their boots, and wrote letters home. Men who thought they were invincible because they wore the armour of Rome. And now, they're just scrap metal in a Scottish bog. The silence of the valley feels different now. It feels judgmental. The hills seem to be watching you, waiting. Are you next? They say the mist took them, Lucius whispers. He's walking right behind you. They say a druid cursed the ground and the earth opened up. "Shut up, Lucius," you say, but your voice lacks conviction. "It's just an ambush," Gaius says firmly, staring straight ahead. "Bad terrain, bad command, they got strung out on the march. Cut to pieces, it happens. It's not magic, it's war." Gaius is trying to rationalise it. He needs it to be tactical. If it's tactical, it can be avoided. If it's magic or fate, then you are powerless. You pass a mule cart that has sunk into the mire. The wood has rotted away, leaving only the iron wheel rim standing upright like strange circular tombstones. You imagine the noise that must have filled this valley on that day. The screams, the trumpets, the clashing of steel. But now the silence is total. The heather has grown back, the flowers bloom purple over the rust. Nature does not care. Nature just reclaims. You feel a profound sense of melancholy. It is the sick transit Gloria Mundi. Thus passes the glory of the world. All your drilling, all your polishing, all your discipline. Eventually the rust wins. The column pushes hard to get out of the valley. No one wants to camp here. The pace quickens. The centurions don't need to shout. The ghosts are motivating enough. You climb a ridge, lungs burning, legs screaming. You crest the top and look back. The valley lies below, shadowed and peaceful. It keeps its secrets. Don't look back, Severus says, clapping you on the shoulder. Look forward, the living are forward. You descend into the next glen. The air clears. The oppressive atmosphere lifts. You're out of the graveyard. That night, the camp is quieter than usual. You build the fort, you dig the ditch, but you dig deeper tonight. You hammer the stakes in harder. You want the wall to be high. At the fire, no one tells ghost stories. The reality was close enough. You're cleaning your gear, you take your gladius out, you inspect it obsessively for rust. It's pointless, isn't it? Lucius says. He's looking at his own sword. We polish it, and the ground eats it anyway. We polish it for us, you say. Not for the ground, the rust waits, but not today. You oil the blade. The smell of the oil is comforting. It is the smell of preservation. It is the smell of defiance against the decay. You eat your ration, hardtack and bacon. It tastes dry. Gaius pours a libation into the fire. He tips his flask, letting a stream of wine hiss onto the coals. For the 9th, he mutters. For the 9th, you repeat. The smoke rises, a small offering to the lost. You lie down to sleep. The ground feels cold against your back. You think about the helmet lying in the mud. You think about the man who wore it. Did he have a name? Did he have a girl in Verona? Did he like onions in his soup? He is gone, but you are here. You listen to the breathing of your tent mates. In, out, in, out. It is the most precious sound in the world, the sound of life. The wind picks up outside. Whoo, it sounds like it is searching for something. But you are hidden. You're safe. You pull your blanket up. You focus on the warmth of your own body. You focus on the beat of your own heart. Thump, 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 thump. You're alive. The rust has not taken you yet, and tomorrow you will march away from the ghosts. You will march back towards the sun. You let the darkness take you, not the darkness of the earth, but the gentle restorative darkness of sleep. The campaign season does not end with a bang. It ends with a drop, and then another, and then a billion more. The sky, which has been a brooding grey ceiling for days, finally decides it has had enough of the Roman army. It opens up. It is not a shower. It is not a storm, it is a deluge. It is a vertical ocean. You are marching south. The order to return to winter quarters was given 2 days ago. The legate looked at the turning leaves, the darkening ski, and the sullen mood of the men, and decided that we had marched far enough. We have shown the flag, we have built the bridge, we have scared the cows, Rome has been affirmed, but the north does not let you leave easily. The rain here is different. It is cold, sharp and relentless. It finds every gap in your armour. It runs down the rim of your helmet, soaking your scarf, trickling down your spear, and pooling in your boots. Within an hour you are wet to the skin. Within 2 hours you have forgotten what dry feels like. Splash, squelch, splash. The road, the magnificent road you built, is turning into a canal. The dust of summer is a memory, replaced by a slurry of brown grit that grinds into your skin. You look at Gaius ahead of you. He is a miserable silhouette. His cloak is sodden, hanging heavy and dark like a wet dog's coat. Water streams off the edge of his shield in a continuous sheet. If I drown, Gaius shouts over the roar of the rain. Tell my mother I died fighting a sea monster, not a puddle. It washes the bugs off, you shout back. It is a lie. The lice are the only things enjoying this. They are warm and dry inside your tunic. The march is slow. The baggage train is struggling. The heavy ox carts are sinking to their axles. Every mile is a battle of leverage and cursing. You come across a cart stuck in a particularly deep rut. The oxen are straining, their hooves slipping in the mud, eyes wide with panic. The driver is whipping them uselessly. Halt! Severus barks. First squad, push! You drop your pack. You keep your shield. You might need it to kneel on. You wade into the mud. It comes up to your knees. It is freezing. You put your shoulder against the back of the cart to store it. The wood is slick and slimy. Ready, Severus yells. Heave. You push. You drive your legs into the sludge, or you grunt. The cart groans. The oxen bellow. For a second, nothing happens. The mud holds on tight. It loves the wheel. It wants to keep it. Then, with a sucking squelch, the wheel pops free. The cart lurches forward. You stumble face first into the mud. You stand up, you are coated in brown slime from helmet to toe. You look like a golem made of clay. Lucius laughs. He reaches out a hand to pull you out. He slips. He goes down. Now there are 2 golems. You both start laughing. It is the laughter of the insane. It is the laughter of men who have reached the bottom of misery and found it absurd. You wipe the mud from your eyes. "You look beautiful, Lucius," you say, "like a statue." "I taste mud," he spits. "It tastes like Scotland." You climb back onto the road. The rain washes the worst of the mud off in minutes. That is the efficiency of this weather. It dirties you, then cleans you, then freezes you. The day drags on. The light fades early, swallowed by the storm clouds. The world turns a dark, bruised purple. Camping tonight is going to be a nightmare. There is no dry ground. There is no dry wood. Severus finds a spot. It is a rocky outcrop under a cliff face, an overhang. It offers a few feet of shelter from the vertical rain, though the water still drips from the rock above. You crowd under the overhang. It is tight. You're packed in like sardines in a tin, but the body heat is instant. The collective warmth of 80 men steaming in the cold air creates a microclimate. "No fires," Severus announces. "Wood is soaked." A groan goes through the ranks. No fire means no hot food. No fire means no drying out. You sit on your pack. You open your loculus. You take out your ration. Hardtack, cold bacon. You gnaw on the biscuit. It is soft now, dampened by the humidity. It tastes like wet cardboard. But you eat it. You need the calories to shiver. Shivering is work. You look out at the rain. It falls in sheets, obscuring the valley. It is a curtain separating you from the rest of the world. "I had a dream about a roast pig," Felix says dreamily from the darkness, with crackling, crisp, golden crackling. "Shut up, Felix!" 3 voices say in unison. "And apples," he continues undeterred, "roasted apples with honey." You close your eyes. You try to summon the smell of the pig, but all you can smell is wet wool and unwashed men. The eau de Légion. But strangely, you are not unhappy. There is a perverse comfort in this. You are all in it together. The general in his tent is wet. The centurion is wet. You are wet. The rain is the great equalizer. You wrap your wet cloak around you. It feels like wrapping yourself in a cold sponge. But as you sit there, huddled against Gaius and Lucius, your body heat begins to warm the water trapped in the wool. It becomes a wet suit. You drift into a half sleep. The sound of the rain is white noise. It is loud but constant. It drowns out the worries of the future. There is only the rain. You think about the fort. It seems like a mythical place now. A place of roofs, a place of fires, a place of dry straw. You calculate the distance. 3 days, 3 days of marching. You can do 3 days. You can do anything for 3 days. The night passes in a blur of shivering dozes. You wake up every hour to shift position, to wring out your scarf, to check that your toes are still attached. Morning comes, it is still raining. "Up!" Severus kicks your boot. "Move out. If we stop moving, we rust." You stand up. You are stiff. Your joints creak. Putting the wet pack back on your sore shoulder is an act of pure willpower, but you do it. You step out from the shelter into the downpour. You are a Roman. You are waterproof. You take the first step, squelch. 3 days, you whisper to yourself. Just 3 days. The column starts to move, a long grey snake slithering through the mud, heading home. End of part 15, continuing immediately to part 16. Title: Cooking Bean Soup in the Winter Barracks, the Northern Frontier. Part 16 of 20, approximately 2,000 words. The miracle happens on the afternoon of the 3rd day. You are marching with your head down, watching the mesmerising pattern of your own boots appearing and disappearing in the hem of your cloak. You are in a trance. You have ceased to be a human being. You are simply a machine that turns hardtack into footsteps. Then a sound cuts through the rain. It is not a trumpet. It is not a shout. It's a cheer. A ragged, hoarse, exhausted cheer from the front of the column. You look up, you wipe the water from your eyes. There in the distance, through the grey veil of the drizzle, is a shape. It is geometric. It has straight lines. It has corners. The fort. It sits on its hill like a crown. The smoke from its chimneys rises straight up, defying the rain. The red tiles of the roof, where they have replaced the thatch, gleam wetly. It is the most beautiful thing you have ever seen. It looks like Rome. It looks like Olympus. It looks like a dry bed. The pace of the column instantly quickens. No one gives the order. The horses walk faster. The men lengthen their stride. The barn urge takes over. The pain in your knees vanishes. The weight of the pack disappears. You reach the gate, the Porta Decumana. The sentries on duty are wearing heavy oilskin hoods. They watch you march in. They look clean. They look dry. You hate them a little bit, but mostly you're just glad to be on their side of the wall. You cross the threshold. The sound changes. The squelch of the mud is replaced by the crunch of gravel. The hollow silence of the wilderness is replaced by the bustle of the camp. The smell hits you. It is the smell of civilization. It smells of wood smoke, baking bread, latrines, leather and horses. After weeks of smelling only pine and rain, it is overwhelming. It smells like safety. "Dismissed to barracks," Crassus bellows. He doesn't even bother with a parade. He knows. You walk to your barracks block, your home, you open the door. The air inside is warm, stagnant, dry, warm air. It hits your face like a physical caress. You drop your shield, clatter. You drop your pack, thump. You unbuckle your belt, jingle. The armour comes off. You peel the sodden tunic off your skin. It makes a peeling sound. You are naked. You are white, wrinkled like a prune, and covered in sores where the armour rubbed. But you are free. "I'm never going outside again," Lucius announces. He is lying face down on his mattress, hugging the straw. "I live here now. I am a mushroom. I will grow in the dark." "Get up, mushroom," you say, though you are smiling. "We need to wash. If we sleep like this, we'll rot." The bathhouse. You run through the rain to the bathhouse. It feels different now. Before it was a luxury. Now it is a medical necessity. You spend an hour in the hot pool. You scrub, you scrape, you watch the water turn brown. You wash the Scotland off you. You wash the fear off you. You wash the 9th Legion off you. When you come out, you are pink and clean. You put on a dry tunic. A dry tunic. It feels like silk. It is soft, warm, and smells of lavender from the chest where it was stored. You return to the barracks. The fire is lit. The room glows orange. And now the most important part, the meal. The quartermaster has released the welcome back rations. No hardtack tonight. No vinegar. Felix comes in from the mess tent. He is carrying a cauldron. He looks like a priest bearing a holy relic. "What is it?" Gaius asks, leaning forward. "Pork," Felix whispers. "Fresh pork stewed with apples and, wait for it, honey." He sets the pot down. He lifts the lid. The steam rises. It smells sweet, savoury and rich. The smell of the pork fat mixes with the tartness of the apples and the floral sweetness of the honey. Minutal Matianum, a classic Roman dish. You dip your bowl. You get a ladle full of tender meat and soft stewed fruit. The sauce is thick and golden. You take a bite. The sweetness hits your tongue first. It is a shock after the saltiness of the trail rations. Then the savoury richness of the pork, it melts in your mouth. You groan. It is a genuine sound of pleasure. "The gods love us," Gaius says, his mouth full. "They tried to drown us, but then they gave us this. It was worth it," Lucius says. "The mud, the rain, it was worth it for this pig." You eat until you can't eat anymore. You wipe the bowl clean with soft, fresh bread. You feel your stomach expanding, pressing against your ribs. It is a heavy, warm anchor holding you to the earth. The evening winds down. The rain is still hammering on the roof tiles outside, rat-a-tat-tat. But now the sound is different. It is powerless. It can't touch you. It is just a drummer playing a lullaby. You check your gear one last time. Your armour is oiled and hung on the rack. Your sword is clean. Your boots are drying by the fire, not too close. You climb into your bunk. The straw mattress feels like a cloud. The wool blanket is dry and scratchy in the best way. You look around the room. The firelight flickers on the walls. The shadows dance. Your family is here. Gaius, snoring already. Lucius, staring at the fire. Felix, smiling in his sleep. You are back. You survived the campaign. You walked to the edge of the world, looked into the mist, and walked back. You think about the comb in your pouch. You think about the green lights in the sky. You think about the bridge. They are memories now, stories to tell in the tavern. But here, now, there is only the warmth, the dryness, the fullness. You bury your face in the rough pillow. You take a deep breath. It smells of straw and smoke. You let go. The tension of the march leaves your muscles. Your legs stop twitching. You are home. And for the first time in weeks, you sleep without listening for the wolves. The year is dying. The sun has retreated to its lowest point in the southern sky, barely skimming the tops of the trees before sinking back into the grey horizon. The days are short, barely 6 hours of light, and the nights are long, deep, and freezing. But inside the fort, the mood is not one of despair. It is one of electric anticipation. It is December, and in the Roman world, December means only one thing: Saturnalia. The strict geometric grid of military life has begun to warp. The edges are softening. The centurion Crassus, who usually prowls the barracks like a hungry wolf looking for a speck of rust, walked past you this morning and winked. Actually winked. The trumpet calls are later. The drills are cancelled. The heavy armour stays on the rack. Today is the first day of the festival, the day when the world turns upside down. You are sitting in the barracks room, but it doesn't look like a barracks room anymore. It looks like a forest grotto. You and the lads have spent the morning foraging. You have brought in boughs of holly with bright red berries, trails of ivy, and branches of fir. You have draped them over the weapon racks, over the door frames, even over the shield stack. The room smells intensely of pine resin and crushed needles. It is the scent of the wild but tamed and brought indoors to celebrate. And the light. Oh, the light. Normally, candles are a luxury, rationed carefully, but Saturnalia is the festival of light. You have wax candles, cerae, burning everywhere. Little pools of golden light flicker on the table, on the shelves, on the floor. They push back the shadows. They make the holly berries glow like rubies. Io Saturnalia. The shout comes from the door. It is Lucius. He bursts in, his arms full of jars. He is wearing his tunic unbelted, a scandalous breach of regulation on any other day. But today, it is the fashion. He's wearing a ridiculous felt cap, the pileus, the hat of a freedman. We are all free men today. Io Saturnalia, you shout back, the ancient cry, the greeting of the season. Lucius dumps the jars on the table. Wine, he announces. And not the vinegar water. This is mulsum, honey wine, from the prefect's own stores. I acquired it. You stole it, Gaius asks, raising an eyebrow. Liberated it, Lucius corrects, in the spirit of the holiday. You gather around the table. The table is the centre of the world today. It is covered in a chaotic spread of nuts, walnuts, hazelnuts, dried figs, and little terracotta cakes soaked in honey. You pour the wine. It is thick, amber-coloured and sticky. You take a sip. It is sweet. Incredibly sweet. The honey coats your mouth, masking the bite of the alcohol. It tastes like liquid gold. It warms you instantly, starting a slow fire in your belly that radiates outward. To Sun, Gaius toasts. The old god, the god of the golden age, when men didn't have to march in the rain. To Saturn, you all chorus. Then out come the dice. Gambling is technically illegal for soldiers. It is frowned upon, but during Saturnalia the laws are suspended. The board comes out, a simple grid scratched into a piece of leather. The dice, tesserae, are made of bone. You have a pile of nuts as your stake. You're not betting money today, you are betting walnuts. It feels innocent. It feels like being a child again. You shake the cup. The fritillus rattle, rattle, rattle. The sound is sharp and exciting. You slam it down on the table. You lift it. 3 sixes. The Venus throw, the highest score. Ha! You shout. Pay up! Gaius groans and pushes a pile of hazelnuts toward you. The gods favour the wicked. The afternoon dissolves into a blur of laughter, clicking dice and sweet wine. The tension of the year, the fear of the patrol, the exhaustion of the march, the cold of the watch, it all evaporates. In this warm, candlelit room, surrounded by greenery and friends, the war seems very far away. Then comes the dinner, and this is the true miracle of Saturnalia. The door opens, and in walks the Optio Severus, the man who usually barks orders at you to dig ditches. He is carrying a tray, a huge tray. Service, he grunts, trying to hide a smile. Dinner is served, gentlemen. He places the tray on the table. It is a roast goose. A magnificent golden brown bird, glistening with fat, stuffed with onions and herbs. He, the officer, is serving you the grunt. The world is inverted. The master serves the slave, the officer serves the soldier. Thank you, Optio, you say, trying to keep a straight face. Don't get used to it, he growls playfully. Come January, you're digging latrines. You can do 3 days. You can do anything for 3 days. The night passes in a blur of shivering dozes. You wake up every hour to shift position, to wring out your scarf, to check that your toes are still attached. Morning comes, it is still raining. Up! Severus kicks your boot. Move out. If we stop moving, we rust. You stand up. You are stiff. Your joints creak. Putting the wet pack back on your sore shoulder is an act of pure willpower. But you do it. You step out from the shelter into the downpour. You are a Roman. You are waterproof. You take the first step. Squelch. 3 days, you whisper to yourself. Just 3 days. The column starts to move, a long grey snake slithering through the mud, heading home. End of part 15, continuing immediately to part 16. Title: Cooking Bean Soup in the Winter Barracks, the Northern Frontier. Part 16 of 20, approximately 2,000 words. The miracle happens on the afternoon of the third day. You are marching with your head down, watching the mesmerising pattern of your own boots appearing and disappearing in the hem of your cloak. You're in a trance. You have ceased to be a human being. You are simply a machine that turns hardtack into footsteps. Then a sound cuts through the rain. It is not a trumpet. It is not a shout. It is a cheer. A ragged, hoarse, exhausted cheer from the front of the column. You look up. You wipe the water from your eyes. There in the distance, through the grey veil of the drizzle, is a shape. It is geometric. It has straight lines. It has corners. The fort. It sits on its hill like a crown. The smoke from its chimneys rises straight up, defying the rain. The red tiles of the roof, where they have replaced the thatch, gleam wetly. It is the most beautiful thing you have ever seen. It looks like Rome. It looks like Olympus. It looks like a dry bed. The pace of the column instantly quickens. No one gives the order. The horses walk faster. The men lengthen their stride. The barn urge takes over. The pain in your knees vanishes. The weight of the pack disappears. You reach the gate, the Porta Decumana. The sentries on duty are wearing heavy oilskin hoods. They watch you march in. They look clean. They look dry. You hate them a little bit, but mostly you're just glad to be on their side of the wall. You cross the threshold. The sound changes. The squelch of the mud is replaced by the crunch of gravel. The hollow silence of the wilderness is replaced by the bustle of the camp. The smell hits you. It is the smell of civilization. It smells of wood smoke, baking bread, latrines, leather and horses. After weeks of smelling only pine and rain, it is overwhelming. It smells like safety. Dismissed to barracks, Crassus bellows. He doesn't even bother with a parade. He knows. You walk to your barracks block. Your home. You open the door. The air inside is warm, stagnant, dry, warm air. It hits your face like a physical caress. You drop your shield, clatter. You drop your pack, thump. You unbuckle your belt, jingle. The armour comes off. You peel the sodden tunic off your skin. It makes a peeling sound. You are naked. You are white, wrinkled like a prune, and covered in sores where the armour rubbed. But you are free. I'm never going outside again, Lucius announces. He is lying face down on his mattress, hugging the straw. I live here now. I am a mushroom. I will grow in the dark. Get up, mushroom, you say, though you are smiling. We need to wash. If we sleep like this, we'll rot. The bathhouse. You run through the rain to the bathhouse. It feels different now. Before it was a luxury. Now it is a medical necessity. You spend an hour in the hot pool. You scrub, you scrape, you watch the water turn brown. You wash the Scotland off you. You wash the fear off you. You wash the 9th Legion off you. When you come out, you are pink and clean. You put on a dry tunic. A dry tunic. It feels like silk. It is soft, warm, and smells of lavender from the chest where it was stored. You return to the barracks. The fire is lit. The room glows orange. And now the most important part, the meal. The quartermaster has released the welcome back rations. No hardtack tonight. No vinegar. Felix comes in from the mess tent. He is carrying a cauldron. He looks like a priest bearing a holy relic. What is it? Gaius asks, leaning forward. Pork, Felix whispers. Fresh pork, stewed with apples and, wait for it, honey. He sets the pot down. He lifts the lid. The steam rises. It smells sweet, savoury and rich. The smell of the pork fat mixes with the tartness of the apples and the floral sweetness of the honey. Minutal Matianum, a classic Roman dish. You dip your bowl. You get a ladle full of tender meat and soft stewed fruit. The sauce is thick and golden. You take a bite. The sweetness hits your tongue first. It is a shock after the saltiness of the trail rations. Then the savoury richness of the pork. It melts in your mouth. You groan. It is a genuine sound of pleasure. The gods love us, Gaius says, his mouth full. They tried to drown us, but then they gave us this. It was worth it, Lucius says. The mud, the rain, it was worth it for this pig. You eat until you can't eat anymore. You wipe the bowl clean with soft, fresh bread. You feel your stomach expanding, pressing against your ribs. It is a heavy, warm anchor holding you to the earth. The evening winds down. The rain is still hammering on the roof tiles outside, rat-a-tat-tat. But now the sound is different. It is powerless. It can't touch you. It is just a drummer playing a lullaby. You check your gear one last time. Your armour is oiled and hung on the rack. Your sword is clean. Your boots are drying by the fire, not too close. You climb into your bunk. The straw mattress feels like a cloud. The wool blanket is dry and scratchy in the best way. You look around the room. The firelight flickers on the walls. The shadows dance. Your family is here. Gaius, snoring already. Lucius, staring at the fire. Felix, smiling in his sleep. You are back. You survived the campaign. You walked to the edge of the world, looked into the mist, and walked back. You think about the comb in your pouch. You think about the green lights in the sky. You think about the bridge. They are memories now, stories to tell in the tavern. But here, now, there is only the warmth, the dryness, the fullness. You bury your face in the rough pillow. You take a deep breath. It smells of straw and smoke. You let go. The tension of the march leaves your muscles. Your legs stop twitching. You are home. And for the first time in weeks, you sleep without listening for the wolves. The year is dying. The sun has retreated to its lowest point in the southern sky, barely skimming the tops of the trees before sinking back into the grey horizon. The days are short, barely 6 hours of light, and the nights are long, deep, and freezing. But inside the fort, the mood is not one of despair. It is one of electric anticipation. It is December, and in the Roman world, December means only one thing: Saturnalia. The strict geometric grid of military life has begun to warp. The edges are softening. The centurion Crassus, who usually prowls the barracks like a hungry wolf looking for a speck of rust, walked past you this morning and winked. Actually winked. The trumpet calls are later. The drills are cancelled. The heavy armour stays on the rack. Today is the first day of the festival, the day when the world turns upside down. You are sitting in the barracks room, but it doesn't look like a barracks room anymore. It looks like a forest grotto. You and the lads have spent the morning foraging. You have brought in boughs of holly with bright red berries, trails of ivy and branches of fir. You have draped them over the weapon racks, over the door frames, even over the shield stack. The room smells intensely of pine resin and crushed needles. It is the scent of the wild but tamed and brought indoors to celebrate. And the light. Oh, the light. Normally, candles are a luxury, rationed carefully, but Saturnalia is the festival of light. You have wax candles, ciré, burning everywhere. Little pools of golden light flicker on the table, on the shelves, on the floor. They push back the shadows. They make the holly berries glow like rubies. Io Saturnalia. The shout comes from the door. It is Lucius. He bursts in, his arms full of jars. He is wearing his tunic unbelted, a scandalous breach of regulation on any other day. But today, it is the fashion. He's wearing a ridiculous felt cap, the pileus, the hat of a freedman. We are all free men today. Io Saturnalia, you shout back, the ancient cry, the greeting of the season. Lucius dumps the jars on the table. Wine, he announces. And not the vinegar water. This is Mulsum, honey wine, from the prefect's own stores. I acquired it. You stole it, Gaius asks, raising an eyebrow. Liberated it, Lucius corrects, in the spirit of the holiday. You gather around the table. The table is the centre of the world today. It is covered in a chaotic spread of nuts, walnuts, hazelnuts, dried figs, and little terracotta cakes soaked in honey. You pour the wine. It is thick, amber-coloured and sticky. You take a sip. It is sweet, incredibly sweet. The honey coats your mouth, masking the bite of the alcohol.
Slow down.
It tastes like liquid gold. It warms you instantly, starting a slow fire in your belly that radiates outward. To Sun, Gaius toasts, the old god of the golden age, when men didn't have to march in the rain. To Saturn, you all chorus. Then out come the dice. Gambling is technically illegal for soldiers. It is frowned upon, but during Saturnalia the laws are suspended. The board comes out, a simple grid scratched into a piece of leather. The dice, tesserae, are made of bone. You have a pile of nuts as your stake. You're not betting money today, you are betting walnuts. It feels innocent. It feels like being a child again. You shake the cup. The fritillus, rattle, rattle, rattle. The sound is sharp and exciting. You slam it down on the table. You lift it. 3 sixes. The Venus throw, the highest score. Ha! You shout. Pay up! Gaius groans and pushes a pile of hazelnuts toward you. The gods favour the wicked. The afternoon dissolves into a blur of laughter, clicking dice and sweet wine. The tension of the year, the fear of the patrol, the exhaustion of the march, the cold of the watch, it all evaporates. In this warm, candlelit room, surrounded by greenery and friends, the war seems very far away. Then comes the dinner, and this is the true miracle of Saturnalia. The door opens and in walks the Optio Severus, the man who usually barks orders at you to dig ditches. He is carrying a tray, a huge tray. "Service," he grunts, trying to hide a smile. "Dinner is served, gentlemen." He places the tray on the table. It is a roast goose. A magnificent golden brown bird, glistening with fat, stuffed with onions and herbs. He, the officer, is serving you the grunt. The world is inverted. The master serves the slave, the officer serves the soldier. "Thank you, Optio," you say, trying to keep a straight face. "Don't get used to it," he growls playfully. "Come January, you're digging latrines." "But it is not January," Gaius says, tearing off a leg of the goose. "It is December, and the goose is fat." You eat. You eat until your fingers are greasy. You eat the crisp skin, the dark meat, the stuffing. You crack open the nuts and eat the sweet kernels. You dip bread into the honey wine. It is a feast of sensory overload. The smell of pine and roast meat. The taste of honey and salt. The sight of the candles reflecting in the eyes of your friends. After the meal, the mood settles. The frantic energy of the gambling fades into a warm, heavy contentment. The food coma sets in. It is time for the gifts, sigillaria. Gift giving is a serious business. You've been planning this for weeks. You reach into your pouch. You pull out the object you have been saving. The bone comb, the one you traded for with the barbarian warrior back in the summer. You turn to Gaius. He has been your shield mate for 3 years. He has pulled you out of the mud. He has shared his blanket when yours was wet. "Here," you say, tossing it to him. "For your beard. It looks like a bird's nest." Gaius catches it. He looks at it. He runs his thumb over the carved snake handle. He remembers the day you got it. "The barbarian comb," he says softly. "I thought you'd keep this." "I have a helmet," you say. "You have the vanity." He smiles, a genuine, unguarded smile. "Thanks, brother. It's good work." He reaches into his own pack. He pulls out a small bundle wrapped in cloth. "For you," he says, "since you're always freezing your toes off." You open it. It is a pair of socks, udones, but not the scratchy standard issue wool. These are felted, thick, soft, and lined with rabbit fur. You put your hand inside one. It is incredibly soft. It is like putting your hand into a warm cloud. "I bought them from a trader in the Canabae," Gaius says. "Cost me a week's pay. Don't wear them in the mud." "I will wear them to sleep," you say. "I will wear them to my wedding. I will be buried in them." You look around the room. Lucius is giving Felix a small wooden horse he carved. Felix is giving Lucius a bag of exotic spices he saved. It is a moment of pure humanity. We are killers by trade. We are trained to stab and thrust and march, but here tonight we are just men giving each other socks and combs to keep the dark at bay. The candles are burning down now. The golden light is softer, dimmer. The wax drips down the sides, forming intricate sculptures on the table. Someone starts to sing. It isn't a marching song. It is an old ballad from Italy, a song about the harvest and the sun. The grapes are heavy on the vine. The sun is warm on the face. You join in. Your voice is rough, but it blends with the others. The low, rumbling harmony of the barracks. You pour the last of the wine. You toast the room. Io Saturnalia, you whisper. You feel a profound sense of safety. The winter is outside, the wolves are outside, the barbarians are outside. Inside there is only this circle of light, this circle of brotherhood. You decide to try on the socks. You pull off your old boots. You slide your feet into the fur-lined felt. The sensation is exquisite. Your feet, which have been cold for 2 months, are suddenly swaddled in warmth. It tingles. It relaxes your whole body. You lean back against the wall. You watch the fire dying down to embers. You think about the year that has passed. You think about the bean soup in the winter, the eggs in the spring, the dust of the summer road, the rain of the autumn retreat. It has been a hard year, but you are still here. And for tonight, you are a king. You have a belly full of goose. You have rabbit fur socks. You have friends. The emperor in Rome, in his marble palace, cannot possibly feel more content than you do right now. The singing fades away. The men are drifting off one by one. The heavy breathing of sleep begins to fill the room, replacing the laughter. You blow out the candle next to you. A thin wisp of smoke rises, smelling of beeswax. You close your eyes. You let the darkness wrap around you like a warm blanket. You are not waiting for the dawn, and you are not waiting for the trumpet. Tomorrow is another day of festival, another day of rest. You let yourself sink into the straw mattress. You wiggle your toes in your new socks. Joy, simple, quiet joy. It carries you away, floating on a river of honey wine, drifting towards a dreamless, peaceful sleep. The holly branches have turned brown. The red berries have shriveled and fallen onto the rush matting of the floor. Saturnalia is over. The golden light of the festival has faded, replaced once again by the grey utilitarian light of January. The fort is buried. A blizzard struck 3 days ago. A white fury that howled down from the highlands and buried the world. The snow is piled 5 feet high against the barracks walls. It covers the windows, blocking out the view and muffling the sounds of the outside world completely. You are living in a snow cave. The routine has shifted again. It is no longer the frantic energy of the summer march, nor the festive chaos of December. It is the long wait. It is a time of hibernation. You and your tent party have become like bears. You move slowly. You speak less. You sleep more. The days blur into one another. Was it Tuesday? Was it Friday? It doesn't matter. There is only the fire, the food, and the sleep. You are sitting on the floor, leaning against the wooden bunk. You are sewing again. A button came off your tunic. You're reattaching it with slow, deliberate stitches. In, out, pull. The thread makes a soft zip sound. The room is quiet. Gaius is sharpening his dagger, but lazily. Scrape, pause, scrape. Lucius is carving a piece of firewood into a spoon. Felix is just staring at the flames, mesmerized. Then you hear it. Scratch, scratch, whine. It comes from the door. At first, you ignore it. It's probably a rat. The rats get bold in the winter, seeking the warmth. Scratch, scratch. Yep, that is not a rat. That is a vocalization of distress. You look at Gaius. He stops sharpening. He looks at the door. Wolf, Lucius whispers, his eyes wide. Too small, you say. You stand up, you walk to the heavy timber door. You can feel the cold radiating through the wood. You lift the latch, clack. You pull the door open, just a crack. A flurry of snow blows in, swirling across the floor. And there, shivering in the drift, is a miserable creature. It is a dog, or it used to be a dog. Right now, it looks like a pile of wet, dirty rags that has grown legs. It is small, scruffy, with one ear standing up and the other flopped down. It is shaking so violently that its teeth are chattering. Click, click, click. It looks up at you with big, brown, desperate eyes. It doesn't bark. It just whimpers, a sound of pure misery. Well, you say, you look worse than I do. You step back. The dog hesitates. It looks at the snow, then at the fire inside. Evolution takes over. It steps inside. You shut the door. The wind's cut off. The dog stands in the middle of the room. It drips. A puddle of meltwater forms around its paws. It looks at the 8 giant armoured men staring at it. It cowers, expecting a kick. Don't, Gaius says warningly to Felix, who hasn't moved. It's hungry. Gaius, the man who kills barbarians for a living, reaches into his pouch. He pulls out a piece of dried beef, jerky that he was saving for himself. He tosses it. The meat lands on the floor. Thump. The dog doesn't wait. Snap, the meat is gone, swallowed whole. It didn't even chew. It looks at Gaius. It wags its tail just once. A tentative swish. He likes me, Gaius grins. He likes your beef, you correct. But the spell is cast. The intruder has been accepted. You find an old, moth-eaten blanket that was destined for the rag pile. You fold it up and place it near the hearth. not too close to the sparks, but close enough to the heat. Here, you say, patting the blanket. Bed. The dog looks at the blanket. It looks at you. It walks over, circles 3 times, round, 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 and collapses. It lets out a long, shuddering sigh. The sigh of a creature that has been cold for a very long time and is finally warm. Within 10 minutes it is asleep. Deep sleep. It twitches. It's probably dreaming of chasing rabbits, or perhaps catching a sausage. You sit back down, you watch the dog. It changes the room. Before, it was just a room of men waiting for spring. Now there is a heartbeat. There is a mascot. We need a name, Lucia says quietly, so as not to wake the guest. Killer? Felix suggests. You look at the small, scruffy ball of fur. He's not a killer. Titus? No, that's the centurion's name. We'd get flogged. Barnabas, you say. He looks like a Barnabas. Barnabas, Gaius tests the word. It sounds agricultural. I like it. So Barnabas it is. Over the next few weeks, Barnabas becomes the centre of your universe. He is not a guard dog. He's a terrible guard dog. If a thief came in, Barnabas would probably show him where the cheese is kept, but he is a morale dog. He wakes up in the mornings when you do. He stretches, bowing down on his front paws, groaning with pleasure. Ooh, stretch. He learns the routine. When the food pot comes out, he sits by Felix's knee, resting his chin on the soldier's thigh, looking up with eyes that say, I have never eaten in my life. I am starving. Please save me. Felix always gives in. A piece of bread soaked in gravy, a rind of cheese, a bit of gristle. Barnabas eats it all. He starts to fill out. His coat becomes shiny. He stops shivering. In the evenings, when the wind is howling outside and the snow is piling up against the door, having a dog to pet is a form of therapy. You sit by the fire, your hand resting on his head. His fur is coarse but warm. You scratch behind his ears. Scritch, scratch. He leans into your hand, pushing his head against your palm. You can feel the solid warmth of his skull, the rhythmic thumping of his heart. It is grounding. It connects you to something simple and honest. The dog doesn't care about the Empire. He doesn't care about the Ninth Legion. He just cares that you are here and that you have hands. One night a storm blows harder than usual. The drafts are cutting through the walls. The room is chilly despite the fire. You're lying in your bunk, wrapped in your blanket and wearing your fur socks. You feel a weight land on the end of your bed. It is Barnabas. He has decided that the floor is too cold. He creeps up the bed. He moves stealthily like a ninja, trying not to wake you, or pretending not to. He curls up in the crook of your knees on top of the blanket. He is a hot water bottle, a living, breathing heater. Technically, animals are not allowed in the bunks. It is a violation of Regulation 14, Section 3. You don't kick him off. You pull the blanket up a little higher. You rest your hand on his flank. Good dog, you whisper. He snores, a soft whistling snore. Fish. The long wait continues, but it feels faster now. You have entertainment. You watch Barnabas try to catch a fly that has woken up early. Snap, miss, snap, miss. The whole room cheers him on. Get him, Barnabas! Flank him! Gaius shouts. Barnabas finally catches the fly. He looks surprised. He spits it out. The room erupts in laughter. Laughter in February. It is a rare commodity. You spend hours grooming him. You use the bone comb, the one you gave Gaius. Gaius doesn't mind. He has better hair than me anyway, Gaius admits. You comb out the burrs and the mats. Barnabas tolerates it, closing his eyes in ecstasy when you scratch the spot right above his tail. The snow outside begins to change. It becomes heavy, wet. The icicles hanging from the eaves start to drip, 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 drip. The sun stays a little longer each day. The light changes from grey to a pale, watery blue. You open the door one morning. The drift has shrunk. You can see the top of the palisade again. The thaw is coming, Severus says, passing by. He stops and looks at Barnabas, who is sitting in the doorway sniffing the air. New recruit? Severus asks. You freeze. Is he going to order you to get rid of him? Severus looks at the dog. Barnabas looks at Severus. Barnabas walks over and licks Severus's boot. Severus grunts. He needs a bath and a collar. Make him a collar from old leather. If he's staying, he needs to look like a soldier. He walks away. You let out a breath. Barnabas is enlisted. You sit down on the threshold. The air smells of wet snow and pine again. The cycle is restarting. Soon the mud will return. Soon the drill will start. Soon you will be marching again. But for now, it is still winter. It is still the time of the fire. You look at Barnabas. He is rolling in a patch of snow, barking at a snowflake. He is pure joy. You realise that this winter, which could have been a prison, has been one of the best you remember, because of a small, scruffy dog that scratched at the door. You lean back against the doorframe. You're rested. You're warm. You're ready for whatever the spring brings. But you hope the spring takes its time. You're enjoying this quiet moment. Just you, the melting snow and the dog. The seasons have blurred. How many winters have passed since you first sat on that stool? 2, 3? It's hard to keep track. The calendar is measured in worn-out boots and empty wine jars. But you know it is spring again. Not because of the flowers or the birds or the mud. You know it is spring because the fresh meat has arrived. You are sitting on a bench outside the barracks, leaning back against the warm timber wall. Barnabas is asleep at your feet, twitching as he dreams of catching that slow squirrel he saw yesterday. Your tunic is faded to a soft, dusty, pinkish red, worn thin at the elbows. Your armour, stacked beside you, has a dull, dark patina, the look of metal that has seen rain, snow and blood and survived. Across the Via Principalis, on the parade ground, chaos is unfolding. A new century of recruits, Tyrones, has marched in from the south. They are terrified. You can smell their fear from here. It smells of sour sweat and desperation. They look shiny. That's the only word for it. Their armour is bright silver, unscratched, gleaming in the sun like mirrors. Their tunics are a vibrant, aggressive red. Their boots still have all the hobnails attached. They are running around like headless chickens. "Left! Your other left, you idiot!" a centurion screams. It's not Crassus. Crassus retired last autumn, bought a farm in Tuscany. This is a new centurion, a young man named Gallo. He screams a lot. He hasn't learned yet that a whisper is scarier than a shout. You watch a young recruit trip over his own spear. He goes down in a heap of clattering metal. Clang, crash. "Oh dear," Gaius says, sitting next to you. He's carving an apple with his dagger. That sounded expensive. He holds the shield too high, you critique, squinting. He's blinding himself. "He's a baby," Gaius says, chewing a slice of apple. "Look at him. He hasn't shaved yet, because he has nothing to shave. I have boots older than him." You feel a strange mix of emotions. Superiority? Yes, you are a veteran. You have survived the wall. You have survived the Ninth's Valley. You have survived the bad lentils of 18. But also pity. You remember being that boy. You remember the terror of the first drill. You remember the blistering cold. You know what is coming for them. The long marches, the nights on watch, the wolves. "They look soft," Lucius says, joining you. Lucius has grown a beard, a thick, unruly thing that he refuses to shave, claiming a religious exemption that nobody believes but nobody challenges, like unbaked dough. "We were dough once," you remind him. "Speak for yourself," Lucius grins. "I was carved from marble." Barnabas wakes up. He lifts his head, looks at the stumbling recruits, lets out a short, dismissive huff, and goes back to sleep. Even the dog is unimpressed. Later that evening, the reality of the new arrival hits the barracks. The door opens tentatively. A head peeks in. It is one of the recruits. He looks about 16. His eyes are wide, darting around the room, taking in the drying socks, the scarred armour, the sleeping dog, and the group of hardened men sitting by the fire. "Excuse me," he squeaks, his voice cracks. Is this Contubernum 4? You look at him. You let the silence stretch for a moment. It is cruel, but it is necessary. It establishes the hierarchy. "It is," you say finally. "Come in, close the door, you're letting the heat out." He steps in. He is carrying his kit bag. He looks lost. I'm Valen's," he stammers. "I was assigned here to fill the empty bunk." "Ah, yes, the empty bunk. The one Felix used to occupy before he got transferred to the cavalry. Lucky bastard." "I'm Gaius," your friend says, pointing with his knife. "That's Lucius. That's Barnabas the dog, and that," he points to you, "is the chef." "The chef?" Valens asked, confused. "Sit down, Valens," you say. "You look like you're going to faint." He sits on the edge of the empty bunk. He sits stiffly, knees together, hands on his lap. He is afraid to touch anything. "Hungry?" you ask. He nods enthusiastically. "Yes, sir, we haven't eaten since dawn." "Don't call me sir," you say. "I work for a living," and grab a bowl. You are at the fire. The pot is bubbling. It is the classic, the bean soup, the pulse. You realise with a jolt that the circle is closed. Years ago, you were the one watching the veteran cook, wondering how he made sludge taste edible. Now you hold the ladle. Valens comes over with his bowl. He holds it out like an offering. You scoop, sloop. You pour the thick grey-brown mixture into his bowl. He looks at it. It doesn't look like much. Eat, you command. He takes a spoonful. He eats. He pauses. He blinks. It's good, he says, sounding surprised. It tastes rich. That's the bacon fat, you say. And the garlic. Never forget the garlic. He eats faster now, the hunger taking over. How do you do it? He asks between bites. My mother's porridge was never this good. You smile. It is a tired, wise smile. Come here, you say, watch. You motion him to the fireside. You hand him the wooden spoon. Your spoon, the one you whittled years ago. The handle is smooth as glass from your grip. Stir, you say. He starts to stir. He stirs fast, whipping the spoon around. Stop, you say gently. You're not fighting it. You're coaxing it. Slow down. He slows down. Feel the bottom of the pot, you instruct. Feel the resistance. That's where the flavour lives. If you let it sit, it burns. If you stir too fast, it gets watery. You have to find the rhythm. Swish, thud, swish, thud. He gets it slowly. He falls into the rhythm. Good, you say.
Now?
Oh, now the secret. You reach for the salt pouch. Salt is life. Too little, and it's mud. Too much, and it's seawater. You have to taste it every time. You act out the ritual. You pinch the salt. You sprinkle it. You stir. Valens watches you with hero worship in his eyes. To him, you are not just a soldier. You're a wizard of the hearth. You'll learn, you say. You have 20 years to learn. 20 years, he repeats. The number hangs in the air, heavy and impossible. To a boy of 16, 20 years is an eternity. To you, it feels like a blink. It goes fast, Gaius says from the corner. Faster than you think. One day you're polishing your shiny new helmet. The next day you're using it to boil socks. You boil socks in your helmet? Valens asks, horrified. Only on Tuesdays, Gaius lies. The barracks settles into the evening routine. But the dynamic has changed. The silence of the long wait is gone, replaced by the curiosity of the new blood. Valens asks question, endless question. Is it true the barbarians paint themselves blue? Yes. Is it true they charge naked? Sometimes, in the summer. Is it true the Optio has a wooden leg? No, he just walks like that because a mule stepped on him. You answer them all. You are patient. You realise that this is part of the job now. You are the keeper of the law. You are the history book. Later, when the candles are burning low, you step outside for a breath of air. Barnabas follows you, leaning against your leg. The night is cool but not freezing. The stars are out. You look up at the Great Bear. It hasn't moved. It has watched you arrive, and it will watch you leave. You look across the camp. You see the other barracks. You see the smoke rising from 100 fires. You think about Valens inside, sleeping his first night on the hard straw, probably dreaming of home and mother. You remember your first night. You cried. You did. You pulled the blanket up so no one would hear. You wonder if Valens is crying now. You go back inside. You walk past his bunk. He is asleep. He looks very young. You take your heavy cloak, the warm, waterproof one, and you drape it over his feet. He stirs slightly but doesn't wake. Sleep well, Tiro, you whisper. You'll need it. You go to your own bunk. You sit down and take off your boots. Your feet ache, a low, familiar throb. You pick up the spoon Valens was using. You wipe it clean. You realise that one day you will walk out of that gate for the last time. You will get your land grant, your pension and your diploma. You will leave the soup, the mud and the war behind. And Valens? Valens will be sitting on this stool. He will be the one with the faded tunic. He will be the one teaching a terrified boy how to stir the pot. The spoon gets passed on. The soup keeps cooking. The legion remains. It is a comforting thought. You are not indispensable. You are just part of the chain. You lie down. You close your eyes. You can hear the wind picking up outside. It doesn't scare you anymore. It's just weather. You listen to the breathing of the room, 7 men and a dog, and the new kid. The family has grown and the cycle continues. You drift off, thinking about garlic and salt and the look on the boy's face when he tasted the soup. Not a bad legacy, you think. Not bad at all. The day arrives not with a fanfare of trumpets, but with a strange ringing silence. For 25 years, your life has been dictated by the horn. The bosun awoke you, told you to eat, told you to march, told you to sleep. But this morning, when the trumpet sounds for the dawn watch, you stay in your bunk. You lie there, hands behind your head, staring at the familiar cracks in the timber ceiling. You know every knot in that wood. You have named them. There is the one that looks like a skull and the one that looks like a dancing girl. They have been your morning companions for a decade. Get up, old man, Gaius grumbles, pulling on his boots. Roll call in 10. Not for me, you say softly. Gaius freezes. He looks at you. The realization hits him. Ah, he says, today. Today, you confirm. You sit up, you don't put on your armor. That pile of iron, leather and scratches, the lorica that has hugged your chest tighter than any lover. The corner. It is no longer yours. It belongs to the Emperor. Or perhaps it belongs to Valens, the boy who is currently eyeing it with a mixture of awe and fear. You put on a simple woolen tunic, undyed. A civilian tunic. It feels light. Dangerously light. You feel naked without the weight of the belt, the dagger, the sword. You feel floaty, like a ghost that has been untethered from the earth. You pack your personal belongings. It doesn't take long. A life of service fits into a small sack. The bone comb, Gaius tries to give it back, but that you refuse. A few coins, a letter of recommendation from the centurion, and your diploma. You received it an hour ago at the Principia. 2 small bronze tablets wired together, inscribed with your name and your service record. Missio Honesta, honourable discharge. It is heavy, heavier than a sword. It is the weight of your freedom. It grants you citizenship, if you didn't have it. A plot of land and a pension. It is the receipt for your youth. The barracks room is quiet. The squad is standing around. They don't know what to do with their hands. They are killers, builders and survivors, but they are terrible at goodbyes. Well, Lucius says, scratching his beard, who's going to fix the roof when it leaks? You are, you say. And who's going to stop Felix from putting too much salt in the soup? Valens, you say, nodding at the boy. He has the palate. Valens stands up straight, puffing out his chest. I won't let you down, sir. Don't burn the garlic, you advise. That's all I ask. Then there is Barnabas. The dog is sitting by the door, his tail thumping slowly on the floor. Thump. He knows. Animals always know when the pack is breaking up. You kneel down, your knees crack, a souvenir of the damp northern winters. You look the dog in the eye. He is grey in his muzzle now, just like you. You can't come, you whisper. I'm going to a farm. There are cats there. You hate cats. Barnabas whines. He licks your hand. His tongue is rough and warm. Valens, you say? The boy steps forward. He's yours now, you say. He sleeps on the end of the bunk. He likes the spot behind his left ear scratched. And if you let him go hungry, I will come back from retirement and haunt you. I will take care of him, Valens stammers. He kneels down and puts a hand on the dog. Barnabas looks at you, then leans into Valens's touch. The transfer of loyalty is accepted. The pack survives. You stand up. You embrace Gaius. It is a Roman hug, forearm to forearm, a firm grip. Don't die, you say. Don't get fat, he replies. His voice is thick. Write to us. Tell us if the wine in Italy is as good as we remember. It's better, you lie. You pick up your sack. You pick up your walking staff. Not a spear, just a stick of ashwood. You walk to the door, you stop, you look back one last time. The fire is burning. The pot is hanging. The shields are stacked. It is a perfect tableau of military domesticity. It is the only home you have known for half your life. You turn and walk out. The camp is busy. Soldiers are drilling, carts are moving, life goes on, no one stops you. You're invisible now, you're a civilian. To the active soldiers, you are already a memory. You walk to the main gate, the Porta Praetoria. The sentries nod at you as you pass. Safe travels, veteran, one says. You step across the threshold. The sound changes instantly. The crunch of the gravel inside the fort gives way to the softer thud of the dirt road outside. You walk 10 paces, then 20. You are out. You stop and turn around. You look at the fort. From here, it looks imposing. The stone walls, which replaced the turf ones years ago. The watchtowers, the smoke rising from the bathhouse. It is a machine of order imposed on the chaos of the wilderness. You think about the man who walked in through that gate 25 years ago. He was a boy. He had smooth skin and big dreams of glory. He wanted to see the world. Well, he saw it. He saw the rain. He saw the mud. He saw the wolf. He saw the green lights in the sky. He saw the ninth's helmet in the bog. He is gone now. That boy died somewhere in the heather. You are what is left. You are harder, scarred, tired, but alive. You look at the road stretching south. It is a long walk to the coast, then a ship to Gaul, then a long walk to Italy. It seems daunting, but then you remember, you don't have to march, you can walk, you can stop when you want, you can sleep in until noon, you can eat what you want. You take a deep breath. The air is cold, smelling of pine and upcoming snow. It is the smell of the north. You will miss it. Strangely, terrifyingly, you will miss it. But the soup is waiting. You turn your back on the fort. You adjust your sack. You take the first step toward the rest of your life. Crunch. And as you walk, the rhythm comes back to you unbidden. Left, right, left, right. You can take the soldier out of the legion, but you can't take the legion out of the soldier. But this time the rhythm is yours. Epilogue. The sleepless historian. So here we are. The fire has burned down to embers. The pot is scraped clean. The story is told. We have walked a long road together, you and I. We have shivered in the winter watch, sweated on the summer march, and tasted the simple, profound joy of a hot meal in a cold place. History is often written about emperors and generals. It is written in marble and gold, but the real history, the history that you can feel in your bones, is written in mud and wool and soup. It is written in the moments between the battles, the sound of a spoon scraping a bowl, the warmth of a dog at your feet, the smell of wet leather drying by a fire. That is what remains. When the empire falls, when the walls crumble, and the roads are overgrown with grass, these human moments remain. The need for warmth, the need for food, the need for connection in the dark. You have been a good companion on this watch. You have listened well. But now the Busna has sounded. The watch is over. The heavy eyelids of history are closing. The barracks is quiet. The snow is falling outside, soft and silent, covering our tracks, covering the world in a blanket of white peace. It is time to rest. Put down your burden, put down your armour. You have done your duty. The fire is warm, the blanket is soft, the night is yours. Sleep well, soldier. Sleep well.